At the family gathering, my whole squad was blocking me, stopping me from getting near that new car. Reborn into this life, I grabbed a beer bottle and walked straight to that brand new SUV. The system pinged in my ear right on cue. Why is the villain out here? The golden boy has the female lead pinned in the backseat, using the big bad's new ride as their mattress. The golden boy sure knows how to play. My childhood squad stood in my way. Lin Yuaning went to grab your tie. Let's keep drinking. Squad, with the ultimate assist. The ultimate simp, getting played like a fiddle. Under the blazing sun, I just smirked, staring at that black SUV with the windows rolled up tight. I slowly pulled out my phone. Someone snapped my license plate. I'm waiting for roadside assist. If they ain't here in 30, I ain't leaving. GG. It's almost 50 degrees C inside that car under this sun. If they don't come out, someone's gonna literally die. Chu Tianyo blocked the front of the SUV, sweat rolling down his forehead. Behind him was Meng Ying, my so-called bestie. The two of them blocking it was useless, but they sealed off the doors completely. Chu Chuchi, you're drunk, right? Meng Ying forced a smile and reached out to grab my arm. Lin Yuaning really went to get your stuff. She'll be right back. I dodged her hand. My phone screen lit up. I opened a delivery app, found the delivery hub for a nearby megamart, hit the call button, connected after 3 rings. I need a cooler, a mobile freezer packed with ice cubes, an outdoor folding recliner, the heavy-duty kind, plus your highest wattage outdoor speakers, the plug-in type. The guy on the line was clearly stunned. Sir, we can do that, but it's 3x the delivery fee. I dropped the address. Get it here in 30. Leave the stuff at the security booth. I'll have someone grab it. Hung up. I looked at the security guard in the corner of the yard. Old Zhang was peeking over from under the shade. I waved him over. Chu Tianyo started panicking. Chu, Shuchi, what the feck are you doing? It's just a trash car. Are you seriously doing all this? I cut him off. My voice was deadpan. I literally just copped this ride, and someone snaps the plates. If I don't catch the thief today, I'll write Chu Shuchi upside down. Meng Ying's face changed colors. She forced a laugh. Shuchi, are you having some misunderstanding about Lin Yuaning? She literally just said she wanted to give you a surprise. I took out the keys and hit unlock. The SUV made a soft beep. The locks popped for half a second before instantly locking down again. I had the central control system custom modded. Right now, without the remote in my hand, the people inside can't even roll down the window half a centimeter. The comment section flew past my ears. WTF. Did it just unlock for a sec? Su, Jinghuai, open the door, ASCPO. Damn, it's hot as hell in here. It's not working. The dashboard is completely dead. There's something wrong with this car. The villain definitely tampered with it. He's doing this on purpose. I chuckled, turned around and walked to the security booth. Old Zhang jogged over. Mr. Chuck, you needed me to grab a delivery at the gate. Once you bring it in, park it right in front of that SUV, I said. Then get 2 guys to lock down the main iron gates of the yard. Old Zhang froze. Lock the gates? Yeah. I pulled a few bills from my wallet and stuffed them into his hand. Nobody is leaving this yard today. If anyone tries to force their way out, call the cops and report them as accomplices to theft. Old Zhang squeezed the cash, looked at me, then looked at the shiny black SUV. Finally, he nodded. 5 minutes later, a mobile freezer arrived, a massive white box, on wheels. Popped the lid open, and a blast of cold air and icy white fog hit my face. I set up the recliner right next to the freezer, placed the speakers at my feet, yanked the plug over, and plugged it into the outdoor socket on the yard wall. Power on. I hit play. Heavy metal blasted instantly, vibrating the actual round. The distorted guitar tone sounded like a chainsaw, sawing through everyone's eardrums. Chu Tianyo covered his ears and screamed, Chu, Shuche, are you fucking insane? I sat back in my recliner, fished an ice-cold beer out of the freezer, and popped the cap off with a sharp clink. Foam fizzed up. I took a sip, and lazily raised my eyes to look at him. I'm catching a thief. TF does it have to do with you? Meng Ying went pale, leaned into Chu Tianyo's ear, and whispered something. Chu Tianyo gritted his teeth, turned around, and headed for the house. Stop right there. over the heavy metal music. My voice wasn't loud, but it was just loud enough for him to hear. Chu Tianyao stopped in his tracks. I pointed towards the main iron gate. The 2 guards had already dropped the latch and slapped on a heavy-duty vintage padlock. The gate was locked tight. I said, until we get to the bottom of this today, nobody's leaving. Anyone who walks is an accomplice. Chu Tianyao whipped around, his eyes bloodshot. Chu Chuchi, what gives you the right? Because my plates got snapped in my own damn yard. I cut him off and took another swig of beer. And because you guys have been blocking me from checking my car this whole time. I put the bottle down, leaned all the way back, the recliner letting out a slight creak. Either you hand over the thief right now, or, I said, you can chill here with me and wait for the cops. The sun overhead was blindingly toxic. The SUV's black paint reflected a piercing glare, like an iron coffin roasting over an open fire. The comments section was completely losing it. He knows. He 100% knows. It's 46 degrees in the car, and O2 levels are dropping. Su Jingwei, think of something quick. The female lead is already suffocating, damn it. This music is way too loud. They can't hear shit from inside the car outside. I crossed my legs and closed my eyes. The heavy metal was still bumping. Perfect. The whole point is so you can't hear a thing. 2:00 p.m. The temp shot up to 40 degrees C. The asphalt was starting to melt, feeling sticky underfoot. Even the leaves on the camphor trees in the yard were wilting, curling at the edges and drooping down. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying were still standing in the sun. Both of their shirts were completely drenched, clinging to their backs. Meng Ying's makeup was melting off. Her eyeliner smudged, hanging like 2 massive black bags under her eyes. She kept fanning herself with her hand, her lips cracked and peeling. Chu Tianyao looked even worse. He just tried to come over and snatch some ice water from my cooler, but I sidestepped him. He missed entirely and slammed both hands onto the SUV's hood. That black metal plate had been baking under the scorching sun for over 2 hours. The burning hot hood instantly seared blisters onto his skin. Chu Tianyao shrieked and yanked his hands back, his palms bright red. The blisters swelled up right before our eyes. Chu Shuchi, he grimaced in sheer agony. You did that on fucking purpose. I pulled half a watermelon out of the freezer and started scooping it with a spoon. The flesh was ice cold, sweet juice sliding right down my throat. Did I tell you to touch my car? Meng Ying rushed over, pointing at my nose and cursing. Are you even human? Tianyao is your cousin, and you just watch his hands get burned like this. I put down the spoon, grabbed another bottle of water from the cooler, twisted off the cap, and dumped the whole thing right on the hood. Sizzle! The water hit the scorching metal, and instantly boiled over, sending up a cloud of white steam. Evaporated to nothing in seconds, leaving only faint watermarks on the paint. Meng Ying's trash talk got stuck in her throat. Chu Tianyao stared at the disappearing water stain, his face draining from beet red to ghost white. I tossed the empty bottle and chilled back in the recliner. Now you know how hot this ride is, I asked. Both of them stayed dead silent. The chat was spamming. Hood temp is at least 70 degrees C. What about inside? How hot is the interior? 48 degrees C. Su Jinghuai is stripping off his clothes. Lin Yuaning already passed out once. O2 levels dropped to 18. Below the safety line. I lazily raised my eyes at the SUV. The windows had dark anti-blast tint, so you couldn't see Jack from the outside. But the car was totally motionless right now. Not even a single shake. Like a literal coffin. Meng Ying suddenly broke down crying. Shuchi, I'm begging you. Her voice cracked. Just let us go inside the house. I'm getting heat stroke. For real, Chu Tianyao chimed in. I need to get my hands treated, or they'll get infected. I completely ignored them, pulled out my phone to check the time. 2:20 p.m. It had been 50 minutes since I called roadside assistant. The tow company just called back, saying they were stuck in traffic and might be a little late. I told them no sweat. I'll wait. Of course I'll wait. Wait until the people inside literally can't hold on anymore. Footsteps echoed in the distance. I turned my head and saw old Zhang walking over with 2 young guards. All 3 were carrying stuff. A massive patio umbrella, a folding table, and a case of bottled water. Mr. Chu, old Zhang set up the umbrella next to me. The stuff you ordered. Mm-hmm. I pointed at Chu, Tianyao, and Meng Ying. Set one up for them too. Old Zhang paused for a sec, but still did as told. 2 large umbrellas popped open under the blazing sun, casting a patch of shade onto the asphalt. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying grabbed onto it like a lifeline, and instantly scrambled under the shade. I kicked the case of water over to their feet. Thirsty? I asked. Both of their eyes lit up, practically pouncing to rip open the box. Chu Tianyao cracked one open and tilted his head to chug it down. Water spilled down his mouth, mixing with the sweat dripping onto his shirt. Meng Ying also downed half a bottle before stopping to gasp for air. Chuchi. She looked at me, with a complex look in her eyes. Do you know something? I didn't answer, just grabbed an ice cream from the freezer and slowly peeled off the wrapper. The chocolate shell was a bit soft in the heat. I took a bite, sweet cream melting in my mouth. No what? I asked back. Meng Ying opened her mouth, but stayed muted. Chu Tianyao put his bottle down and glared at me. There was resentment in his eyes, fear and a trace of guilt. Yeah, guilt. The chat suddenly updated. Su Jinghuai is looking for tools. He's trying to smash the window. I paused for a second, then kept eating my ice cream. Smash away. I dropped serious cash modding this car with full shatterproof glass. Literally, armored truck tier. Smashing it from the inside. Unless you've got C4, you won't even leave a scratch. But I gotta let them try. How else will they lose all hope? I finished the last bite of my ice cream, tossed the wrapper into the nearby trash can, and stood up to walk toward the SUV. Chu-chi! Meng Ying shrieked. What are you doing? I didn't look back, just circled around to the driver's side window, pulled a Sharpie out of my pocket, and a sticky note. Leaning against the roasting hot door, using the window as a hardback, I wrote 3 massive words on the note. Smash it harder. Done. I slapped the sticky note onto the glass, on the outside obviously, but the people inside should be able to see it. Then I stepped back, crossed my arms. The car was quiet for a few seconds. Then, a muffled thud came from inside the ride. Thump. It wasn't loud, mostly drowned out by the heavy metal music, but standing right next to the car, and Chu Tianyao and Meng nearby. We all heard it. Chu Tianyao jumped up. What was that noise? I didn't look back, just stared at the window glass. Behind the tinted film, you could vaguely see a shadow moving. The shadow raised something and smashed it down violently again. Thump. This time the sound was even more muffled, followed by a suppressed, barely audible groan of pain. The comments exploded. Su Jinghuai is smashing the glass with a golf club. It rebounded and hit his wrist. His wrist is fractured. Ah. The glass is covered in bloody handprints. Lin Yuing woke up from the scare and is crying. I raised my hand and knocked on the window. Tap. The sound was super light, but with this kind of vibe, it was chillingly clear. The movement inside the car stopped. Dead silence. I turned around and looked at Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. Both of their faces were white as paper, eyes glued to the SUV. What was that sound? Chu Tianyao asked again, his voice shaking. I walked back under my umbrella and sat back down in the recliner. Thermal expansion, I said, with temps this high. The chassis warping and making noise is totally normal. Meng Ying's lips were trembling. For real. I didn't answer. Pulled the last bottle of ice water from the freezer, cracked it open, took a sip. Then I held the bottle up and slowly poured it out towards the SUV. The water evaporated fast on the scorching asphalt. Not a single drop left behind. Wanna know if it's for real? I put the empty bottle down and looked at them. Go listen for yourselves. 2:50 p.m. The thermometer in the yard was stuck right at 42 degrees C, quivering slightly, refusing to go any higher. But the ground temp was at least 60 degrees C. The asphalt was giving off a burnt smell, like something got roasted to a crisp. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying sat under their umbrella for almost half an hour. Neither of them said a word, just kept chugging water non-stop. That 24-pack of water was mostly empty now. Empty bottles rolling everywhere, reflecting the sun's glare. Meng Ying suddenly stood up. I need the restroom, she said, her voice weak AF. I didn't stop her. She turned and headed for the house, stumbling as she walked. The second she reached the shade under the eaves, she leaned against the wall and started dry heaving. Nothing came out, just endless dry heaving. Chu Tianyao gave her a glance, but didn't move. He just stared at the blisters on his palms. Those blisters had swollen to the size of thumbnails. They were transparent, and you could see the yolk-yellow fluid inside. Chu-chu, Suchi, he finally spoke up, his voice hoarse. What the hell do you want? I lay back in the chair with my eyes closed. The heavy metal was still blasting, but I turned the volume down a notch. Now I could faintly hear the cicadas and the distant sound of cars on the road. Waiting for the cops? I said. Just over a license plate. All this for a license plate. Chu Tianyo gritted his teeth. Fine. I'll call Lin Yuaning and tell her to get back here ASAP. Let's clear this up face to face. No need. I opened my eyes and looked at him. Hand over your phone. He froze. What? Both of your phones. I sat up and held out my hand. Give 'em here. Meng Ying looked back from under the eaves, the color completely draining from her face. Shuchi, are you? Either you hand them over, I said, or I call the cops, right now, and report you both for conspiring to steal and destroying private property. Chu Tianio's face flushed beet red. That's fucking slander. Then give me the phones. I repeated, to prove you weren't planning to tip them off. The two of them stood there paralyzed. The chat rolled in my ears. It's 49 degrees C in the car. The female lead is severely dehydrated. Su Jinghuai is pinching her philtrum. Wu is at 17. They're at the critical point for suffocation. They're fighting over the leftover soda from the big bottle. Su Jinghuai slapped the female lead. I pulled my hand back, reached into the backpack next to my recliner, and pulled out a clear Ziploc bag. Then, from the bottom of the freezer, I took out a brand new, unopened bottle of ice-cold water. Fine condensation beads covered the bottle, sparkling under the sunlight. I tossed the bottle onto the empty ground, right in front of Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. Smack! The bottle bounced on the boiling asphalt and rolled right between them. Both of their eyes locked onto that bottle. The ice in the freezer was almost entirely melted, and it was at least 37 or 38 degrees, even under the umbrella. Those room temp waters they chugged earlier didn't do shit for their thirst, but this one was ice cold. Chu Tianio's Adam's apple bobbed. Meng Ying's lips twitched. They both reached out at the exact same time. Chu Tianyao was faster, grabbing the body of the bottle, but Meng Ying's fingers hooked onto the cap, refusing to let go. Let go, Chu Tianyao said, his voice parched. I got it first. Meng Ying screeched bullshit. I clearly touched it first. You already drank 3 bottles. I had 2. My hands are burnt. I needed to cool them down. Well, I've got literal heat stroke. They glared at each other, neither willing to back down. The bottle warped slightly as they played tug-of-war, the plastic letting out a faint, crinkling sound. I leaned back against my chair and watched them. They used to be so tight. Chu Tianiao, my cousin. We grew up together. My parents died early, so his dad, my uncle, took me in. I gave him a 30% cut of my first pot of gold. When he got married, I paid the down payment on his house. Meng Ying, my college classmate, couldn't find a job after graduation, so I gave her a BS role at my company, making $20K a month. When she got married, I gave her a $200K red envelope. And Lin Yuning, my wife of 3 months. Now, one is in my car hooking up with some random dude, while the other 2 run interference outside, and they still want my money, my house, and my company. I let out a laugh, pulled my phone out of my bag, and opened the camera P. I pointed the lens right at them. Chu Tianyo and Meng Ying were still fighting over the water. The blisters on Chu Tianyao's hands popped, oozing fluid. That mixed with his sweat, sticking disgustingly to the bottle. Meng Ying's nails dug into his flesh, scratching deep, bloody streaks. Give it to me, Chu Tianyao roared. You let go first. Meng Ying shrieked. You bitch! Who the fuck are you calling a bitch? If you hadn't insisted on blocking Chu Juchi, we would have been inside ages ago. Bullshit, you're the one who ran over to block the car first, Al. The argument escalated, their grip getting more and more desperate. Crack! The plastic bottle finally gave out. The top section near the cap was violently torn open, and ice water sprayed out from the tier, drenching both of them. The brief shock of cold made them both freeze. Then, a split second later, Chu Tianyo abruptly let go. Meng Ying fell backward onto her ass from the momentum. The bottle rolled to the side, and the remaining half of the water spilled all over the asphalt, immediately sizzling into white vapor. Meng Ying sat on the ground, staring at her empty hands, and suddenly burst into tears. Chu Tianyo, you're a monster. She cried and cursed at the same time. We agreed to be in this together, and now that shit hits the fan, you're throwing me under the bus. Chu Tianyo's face was livid. He shook the liquid off his hands. How did I throw you under the bus? You're the greedy one who wants Chu Chuchi's Riverview apartment. TF does that have to do with me? Oh, so you didn't want a cut of the money. You didn't want him to transfer his company shares to you. I.e., both of their voices cut off abruptly. They simultaneously realized that I was still sitting right there, and their heads snapped toward me. I held my phone up, the camera perfectly steady on them. Keep going, I said. I'm listening. Chu Tianyao's lips started to quiver. Meng Ying's crying got stuck in her throat, turning into a weird strangled sobbing sound. The chat was going absolutely feral. They're throwing hands in the car. They're literally fighting. Su Jingwei has the female lead pinned to the seat, trying to snatch the mini perfume bottle from her neck so he can drink it. The female lead is biting him. She's biting his arm. They're both bleeding. I lowered my phone and looked over at the SUV. The car was still dead quiet, but if you looked closely, the rear shocks sank down just a tiny bit, a very subtle dip. Then, it slowly bounced back up, like a heavy weight was pressed onto the seat, and suddenly lifted. I stood up and walked over to the car. Chu Tianyo and Meng Ying didn't move an inch. They were completely frozen in place, like two stone statues. I did a lap around the car, and finally stopped at the driver's side door. I leaned down and pressed my ear against the burning hot metal. Inside, it was dead silent, but I could faintly hear an extremely faint sound of fingernails scratching against leather. Scrape, scrape, slow and weak, carrying a suffocating desperation. I stood up straight and patted the door. Still alive in there? I asked. No response from inside, but the scratching stopped. The chat paused for a microsecond, then started spamming like crazy. He heard it. The villain heard the female lead scratching the seat. She's trying to call for help. Su Jingwei is covering her mouth. He's suffocating her. Odd 2 is at 5%. They're at their limit. I turned and walked back under my umbrella, sitting back down in the recliner. I closed my eyes. Hurry up, I muttered softly. I didn't know if I was talking to the people in the car, or to myself. The SUV's suspension bobbed again, almost imperceptibly. 3:20 p.m. The sun was starting to set in the west, but the heat hadn't dropped one bit. The yard felt like a giant steamer, the air warping and distorting from the extreme heat. The scenery in the distance was shimmering in the heat. That case of water was officially bone dry. Chu Tianyao crushed the last empty bottle in his hand and tossed it to his feet. He stared at the bottle for a few seconds, then suddenly bent down to grab it, pressing the opening to his lips, tilting his head back to try and drain the last few drops. Nothing. The bottle was parched. He threw it away in frustration, the plastic bouncing across the asphalt before rolling under the SUV. Meng Ying sat at the edge of the umbrella's shadow, drenched hair clinging to her face. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. Her eyes glazed over, staring blankly at a single spot on the ground. Neither of them spoke. They didn't even have the energy to argue anymore. The chat speed slowed down, but every message was more of a nightmare than the last. Inside temp broke 50 degrees C. Su Jingwei's wrist is definitely fractured. His right hand is completely useless. Lin Yuaning passed out for the second time. Her pupils are starting to dilate. O2 levels are at 16. That's 5% below the safety threshold. I checked the time. It had been exactly an hour and a half since I called for roadside assistance. The tow company called again, claiming their truck broke down midway, and they were sending another one. No rush, I said. I wasn't in a hurry. Why would I be? The ones in the car were the ones in a hurry. Chu Tianyao suddenly stood up. He stumbled over to me, his eyes bloodshot, glaring at me. Shuchi, what's it gonna take for you to open the door? I raised my eyelids. What door? The car door. He screamed, his voice hoarse. Stop, fucking playing dumb. You know Lin Yuaning is inside. You know, Meng Ying's head snapped up, looking at Chu Tianyao in terror. I put down the empty beer bottle, and slowly sat up. And how exactly do you know she's in there? Chu Tianyao's expression froze. His mouth hung open, but no sound came out. I stood up, brushed past him, and walked to the SUV. This time, I didn't lean against the door. I just spread my hand wide and pressed it against the driver's side window. The glass was scorching. Through the tinted film, I could vaguely see the silhouettes inside. Two figures were tangled together in the back seat. The figure on top was moving, slowly, banging their head against the window, one hit at a time. Thud, thud, thud. It was faint, but every single strike was real. I pulled my hand back, turned, and looked at Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. Did you hear that? I asked. Their faces were ghost white. Thermal expansion. I continued. Metal warping. Totally normal for it to make some noise. Isn't that what you guys just said? Chu Tianyao's lips were trembling. Meng Ying suddenly scrambled up and rushed to the car, pounding on the trunk with both hands. Yuaning, are you in there? Answer me. No response from inside. Just that muffled rhythmic thumping. Thud, thud, thud. Meng Ying's tears spilled over. She turned and threw herself at me. Shuchi, I'm begging you, open the door. Yuning is going to die. She's actually going to die. I looked at her. Are you sure she's in there? Meng Ying choked up, her eyes darting around. I'm not sure. But what if she is? What if she really is in there? Then, why doesn't she open the door? I asked. I have the keys. But the internal locks are independent. Anyone inside can open the door just by hitting a button. Meng Ying was stunned. Chu Tianyao was too. True. Why hadn't they opened the door? I walked to the driver's side, pulled out the keys, and hit the unlock button. Beep. A crisp electronic sound. The sound of the door locks popping was clearly audible, but the door stayed shut tight. It's unlocked, I said. Now, anyone inside just needs to push the door open. I took 2 steps back, crossed my arms, and waited. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying stared at the door. Silence. A long dead silence. The thumping inside stopped. Everything was terrifyingly still. A chat message suddenly flashed. Su Jingwei is trying. He's hitting the buttons, but they're useless. 0 response from anything. Window buttons are dead too. This ride has been hacked. The villain tampered with it. He cut the lines to the central console beforehand. I stroked my chin and walked back to the car. This time, I pulled out the marker and wrote on the driver's side window. 1 stroke at a time. Console is broken. I took 2 steps back and waited for a few seconds. No response from inside. I wrote again. Need help smashing the window. Still nothing. I smirked and wrote a 3rd sentence. How's the golf club working out? Suddenly, a muffled thud came from inside. Not a bang. More like the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Inside that car, it could only be a body. Meng Ying shrieked. Yuning! She rushed over to try and pull the door open. The second her hand touched the roasting handle, she yanked it back. Shuchi, the keys. Give me the keys. She screamed at me. I didn't move. Chu Tianyao rushed over too. He learned his lesson this time, wrapping his sleeve around his hand. To pull the back seat handle, he yanked hard. The handle didn't budge. There was no clicking sound of a lock. It was dead still, as if it wasn't even a door, but a solid, welded iron plate. Suchi. Chu Tianyao whipped around. What's wrong with this door? It's modded, I said. Bulletproofed here. Opening it from the outside takes my fingerprint and a code. Opening it from the inside. I paused and smiled. Opening it from the inside depends on my mood. Meng Ying collapsed on the ground. Completely broken. She pointed at me, her voice shrill and warped. You're doing this on purpose. You knew Yuaning was in there. You planned this whole thing. You want to kill her. I knelt down and looked her in the eye. Meng Ying, I said, today is a family gathering. All my relatives are here. Why on earth would I kill my own wife? Meng Ying's lips quivered, but she couldn't find the words. On the other hand, you two, I stood up, my gaze sweeping over her, and Chu Tianiao. You've been hovering around Lin Yuaning since the party started. When she said she was getting my tie, you both jumped up to go with her. Then she disappeared. And then you two kept blocking me, stopping me from finding her. And now you're dead certain she's in the car. I paused, my smile turning cold. Meng Ying, Chu Tianiao, I'm asking you, what exactly are you hiding? They both dodged my gaze at the same time. The chat refreshed. No more movement in the car. Su Jingwei passed out too. They're just slumped on top of each other. Audio levels are down to 8. Their heartbeats are slowing down. They've got 20 minutes left, tops. I just stood up and looked at the black SUV. On the window glass, the words I wrote were already getting blurry. The marker ink was melting from the extreme heat, dripping down the glass. Like black tear streaks. Console is broken. Need help smashing the window. How's the golf club working out? The 3 sentences hung there crookedly. The people inside must have seen them, but they didn't have the energy to react. Chu Tianiao suddenly charged at me, grabbing me by the collar. Chu Zuji, I'm warning you. If anything happens to Yuning, my dad won't let you off. Uncle won't let you get away with this. I looked down at his hands. The blisters were totally busted, the oozing fluid mixing with blood, smearing all over my shirt. Let go, I said. Let the fuck go. My voice was dead, calm. But Chu Tianiao acted like he'd just been burned, and violently let go. I adjusted my collar and turned to walk toward the security booth. Old Zhang was still standing there, with 2 younger guards next to him now. All 3 of them were staring this way, their expressions complicated. Mr. Chu, old Zhang stepped forward. Need some help? Yeah, I pulled a few more bills from my wallet. Go buy some things. Just say the word. Some Huaxiang Zhengqi liquid, ice packs. And, I paused. 2 stretchers. Old Zhang's face shifted. Stretchers? Yeah, I looked toward the SUV. Just in case someone really is in there. When we pull them out, we'll need something to carry them on. Old Zhang opened his mouth, but in the end, didn't ask a thing. He just took the money and left. I walked back under the umbrella. Chu Tianiao and Meng Ying were still standing by the car, like 2 statues. Meng Ying was crying, her sobs suppressed and broken. Chu Tianiao was making a call, but I had confiscated his phone ages ago. He was just holding his empty phone case, tapping the screen uselessly. I sat back in the recliner, closing my eyes. The heavy metal music had stopped long ago. Now, the only sounds in the yard were the cicadas and the occasional honk from the distant road. It was quiet, so quiet, I could hear my own heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. It slowly began to sync with the thumping coming from the car. I opened my eyes, looking at the SUV. On the rear window glass, a handprint had appeared out of nowhere. 5 fingers splayed wide, pressed hard against the inside of the glass. The hand was small, delicate. It was Lin Yuaning's hand. The edges of the handprint had a faint reddish tint. Blood. The chat refreshed one last time. The female lead woke up. She's begging for help. A handprint. She left a handprint. Su Jingwei is totally unresponsive. He stopped breathing. Audiovisual levels are at 5. I stood up, walked over to the car, and looked at that bloody handprint through the glass. Then I raised my hand and pressed my palm against it. Palm to palm, separated by 50-degree heat, by shatterproof glass, by the blood feud of 2 lifetimes. I spoke softly, my voice so low only I could hear. Don't rush, this is just the beginning. The handprint slowly melted beneath my palm. 3:50 p.m. A screech of brakes suddenly tore through the air outside the iron gates. A white BMW X5 skidded to a halt on the curb. The door flew open, and a woman in her 50s scrambled out, her high heels clicking frantically on the asphalt. Clack, clack, clack. Lin Yuaning's mother. My mother-in-law, Zhao Mailan. She was supposed to be out of town for a reunion today, not coming back until tonight. Looks like someone tipped off the cops early. Zhao Mailan rushed to the iron gate, pounding on the metal panel. Open the door, old Zhang. Open the damn door. Old Zhang peeked out from the booth. Seeing it was her, he looked a bit conflicted, and turned to look at me. I nodded. Only then did old Zhang take out his keys and open the massive padlock. The gate was barely open a crack. When Zhao Mailan squeezed through, she was wearing a Chanel suit, her makeup flawless, her hair styled in trendy big waves. But right now, her expression ruined it all. Her eyebrows were raised, eyes bulging, lips pressed into a pale, thin line. She immediately spotted me under the umbrella, the black SUV behind me, and Xu Tianyao and Meng Ying slumped by the car. Chu Chi, Zhao Mailan stomped over in her heels, practically jamming her finger up my nose. What the hell are you playing at? Locking everyone in the yard on a boiling day like this. Where is Yuning? I didn't dodge. Just let her point at me, mother-in-law. I said, my voice totally level. Why are you back so early? If I didn't come back, you'd torture my daughter to death. Zhao Mailan practically spat in my face. Where is Yuning? I've been calling her and she won't answer. What the hell did you do to her? I stepped aside, clearing her line of sight, and pointed at the SUV. Yuning said she was getting my tie. I said, it's been over 2 hours and she's not back. Zhao Mailan followed my finger. She saw the black car, saw the tightly rolled up windows, saw her own blurry reflection in the glass, and the melting bloody handprint. The color drained from her face, piece by piece. What is this? Her voice trembled. My car, I said. Just got it. Someone snapped the plates today. I'm waiting for the police. Zhao Mailan's head whipped toward me. Your plates? What does that have to do with Yuning? I don't know. I shrugged, but Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying swear up and down that Yuning is in the car. Zhao Mailan's pupils shrank to pinpricks. She looked at Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. Neither of them dared to look up. Tianyao Zhao Mailan marched over, her voice sharp. Tell me, where exactly is Yuning? Chu Tianyao lips twitched, but he didn't make a sound. Meng Ying suddenly scrambled up and grabbed Zhao Mailan's arm. Auntie, please, you have to save Yuning. She's in the car. She's really in the car. Zhao Mailan swayed on her feet. She shook off Meng Ying's hand, stumbled over to the car, and reached for the door handle. Obviously, it wouldn't budge. Yuning, are you in there? She slapped the door. Answer, Mom. The car was dead silent. Zhao Mailan turned around, her eyes bloodshot as she glared at. Give me the car keys. I pulled the keys out of my pocket and handed them over. She snatched them and hit the unlock button with trembling hands. Beep. The sound of the door locks popping. Zhao Mailan immediately grabbed the rear door handle, pulling and pulling again. The handle didn't budge. She froze, looked down at the keys, and hit unlock again. Still wouldn't open. What's going on? She turned to glare at me. Modded car. I said. Bulletproof tier, fingerprint, and passcode verification. Only I can open it. Zhao Mailan's face went completely pale. She rushed to the driver's side, trying to roll down the window. Her fingers frantically mashed the buttons, but the window glass didn't move an inch. Shuchi, she shrieked. You did this on purpose. You modded the car like this on purpose. You want to trap Yuning in there to die. I walked up to her and took the keys back from her hand. Mother-in-law, I said, I just bought this car last week. The mod receipt is still at the house, and it clearly says, shatterproof glass, run flat tires, full body armor. Why would I mod a car in advance? Just to trap and kill my own wife. Zhao Mailan choked on her words. Her lips moved, her eyes darting frantically across my face, then across the car, finally landing on Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. You two. Her voice shook. What exactly are you hiding from me? Chu Tianyao hung his head. Meng Ying started to cry. Auntie, we were forced to do this. Forced? By who? Meng Ying looked at me, her eyes full of resentment. Him, Suchi. He knew about Yuning and Su Jingwei all along. He did this on purpose today. He wants to kill them. Zhao Mailan's body swayed violently. Su Jingwei. She repeated the name, trying to confirm something. Yuaning's college classmate. Mang Ying nodded, crying even harder. They've been in touch this whole time. At the party today, Yuaning said she wanted to clear things up with him. Tell him to stop looking for her. So we helped set it up for her. Set it up where? Zhao Mailan asked, her voice barely a whisper. Meng Ying pointed at the SUV. The air froze. Zhao Mailan stood rooted to the spot, like a statue that suddenly had its soul sucked out. Her eyes were glued to that car. Pupils dilated. Her mouth hung open, but no sound came out. A few seconds later, she whipped around and slapped Meng Ying across the face. Smack! A sharp ringing slap. Meng Ying's head snapped to the side, a five-finger welt rapidly swelling on her cheek. You bitch! Zhao Mailan shrieked. You actually helped Yuning cheat, and right under my son-in-law's nose. Meng Ying covered her face, crying and shaking uncontrollably. Auntie, we didn't think Chu Xuqi would find out. Of course, he found out. Zhao Mailan pointed right at me, but this time her finger was trembling. He's Yuning's husband. He's the master of this house. You played him for a fool. She spun around and charged at Chu Tianyao. Chu Tianyao instinctively backed up, but Zhao Mailan didn't hit him. She just stared at him, the rage in her eyes practically spitting fire. Tianyao, her voice was hoarse. Does your dad know? Chu Tianyao's head jerked up. Auntie, don't tell my dad. Please, now you're scared. Zhao Mailan laughed, a laugh laced with sobs. When you all ganged up to scam Xuqi, why weren't you scared then? When you shoved my daughter into that iron coffin, why weren't you scared then? She suddenly turned to look at me. The anger on her face vanished, replaced by a desperate, agonizing plea. Xuqi. She walked over and grabbed my arm. Xuqi, listen to Mom. Yuning is young. She doesn't know any better. She must have been tricked. That Su Jingwei, he must have seduced her. You, just open the door first. Get her out. And we can talk this through slowly, okay? I looked at her. In my past life, this arrogant mother-in-law was always scolding me, saying I wasn't good enough for her daughter. Right now, her eyes were bloodshot, tears mixing with her smudged eyeliner, carving two black streaks down her face. She gripped me so tight, her nails dug into my flesh. Xuqi, Mom is begging you. She choked on her words. No matter how wrong Yuning is, she's still your wife. You can't just watch her die. I slowly pulled my hand away. Mother-in-law, I said. It's not that I won't open it. Then, what is it? It's the car's security system. I pointed at the SUV. Bulletproof mod. Comes with an anti-hijack mode. Once locked from the inside, forcing it open from the outside triggers an alarm. At the same time, I paused. It releases a high-voltage current. Zhao Mailan Fruse. High-voltage current? To prevent hijackers from taking hostages inside. The designers added this feature. Violent breaching from the outside, or more than 3 failed attempts, sends a high-voltage shock through the whole car. The last bit of color vanished from Zhao Mailan's face. She looked at the car, then back at me. Her lips quivered. But then what do we do? Wait, I said. Wait for what? Wait for the people inside to come out themselves. I looked her in the eyes. Or wait for them to die. I said the last few words, very softly. But Zhao Mailan heard them clearly. Her body went limp, nearly collapsing to the ground. I reached out to catch her, helped her back under the umbrella, and sat her down in the folding chair. Sit here, mother-in-law. I said, stay away from the car. It's safer. Zhao Mailan didn't resist. She slumped into the chair, staring blankly at the black SUV. Tears streamed down silently, ruining her makeup, revealing the sagging skin and wrinkles beneath. She looked old, truly old. The chat hadn't updated for a long time. The last message was from 20 minutes ago. O2 levels are at 5. I checked the time. 4:00 p.m. on the dot. It had been 3.5 hours since Lin Yuening and Su Jingwei crawled into that car. At least 20 minutes since they lost consciousness. How long? Until they died? I didn't know. And I didn't need to know. I walked back under the umbrella, sat down in the chair, next to Zhao Mailan, and pulled the very last bottle of ice water from the freezer. Honestly, the ice melted ages ago, but this bottle was buried at the very bottom, so it still had a hint of chill left. I twisted off the cap and offered it to Zhao Mailan. Mother-in-law, have some water. Zhao Mailan didn't take it. She stared at the bottle, then suddenly looked up at me. Chuchi, you've wanted to do this all along, haven't you? I didn't answer her. She kept going. About Yuning. You knew all along, didn't you? This whole setup today, you planned it all out. I still said nothing. Zhao Mailan laughed. A harsh, bitter laugh. Fine. Just fine. Chuchi, I really underestimated you. I thought you were a decent, honest guy. Someone easy to control. Never thought you'd be the most ruthless one of all. She took the water, didn't drink it, just gripped the plastic bottle so hard it crinkled in her hand. But don't you forget it. She stared at me. A easy look in her eyes. If Yuning dies, you're going down with her. I'll call the cops. I'll let the whole world know you killed her. I nodded. You're right. So right now it's best if I do nothing. Wait for the cops. Wait for rescue. Wait for the professionals to handle it. I stood up and walked to the center of the yard. I looked up at the sky. The sun was starting to set, but the heat was still oppressive. The black SUV sat there quietly, like a silent tombstone. Zhao Mailan suddenly stood up from her chair. She walked over to the car, pulled her phone out of her bag, opened the camera, and started recording the car. Family, friends, netizens, she said to the camera, her voice hoarse but clear. My name is Zhao Mailan. I am Lin Yuning's mother. Today, my son-in-law, Chu, locked my daughter in his car. It's been over 3 hours. There's no AC in the car, and the temperature is over 50 degrees. I don't even know if my daughter is alive or dead. She turned around, pointing the camera at me. Chuchi, open the door, she screamed. If you don't open the door right now, I'm posting this video. I'm going to let everyone see what kind of animal you are. I looked at her, not moving a muscle. On screen, my face was terrifyingly calm. Zhao Mailan's finger was shaking. She hit send, but the next second, her phone screen went dark. No signal. I had old Zhang install signal jammers in the yard ages ago. Zhao Mailan stared blankly at her phone, then looked up at me. Her eyes shifted from crazed to completely hopeless. You, her voice trembled. You even thought of this. I walked back under the umbrella and sat back down. Mother-in-law, I said, you're tired. Sit down and rest. Zhao Mailan didn't move. She just stood there, clutching that phone with 0 bars, staring dead at me. After a long time, she suddenly smiled. The laugh squeezed out of her throat, dry and chilling, like a ghost wailing. Chuchi, she said, you're going to hell. I nodded. I know. We all fell silent. The only sounds left in the yard were the cicadas and Zhao Mailan's suppressed gasps for air. 4:10 p.m. The SUV suddenly rocked. Just a very slight shift, like someone inside moved. Zhao Mailan's head snapped up. Yuning! She rushed over and threw herself against the car door, pressing her ear to the glass to listen. I stood up and walked over too. The car was very quiet, but if you listened closely, you could hear an extremely weak, intermittent sound, like nails scraping against something, or teeth grinding against metal. Scrape, scrape. Zhao Mailan's face turned even whiter. Yuning, it's Mom. She slapped the window. Don't be scared, Mom is here. Mom is gonna get you out. The scraping stopped. The car went back to dead silence. Zhao Mailan collapsed by the car door, pressing her face against the scorching paint. Tears streamed down the glass. Yuning, my Yuning. I stood behind her, looking down at her. This woman who used to be so high and mighty, who never even looked me in the eye, was now like an old dog with a broken spine, sprawled next to her daughter's iron coffin, crying in vain. I knelt down and patted her shoulder. Mother-in-law, I said, sit a little further away. She looked up at me, her eyes unfocused. I pointed at the ground. You're too close to the exhaust pipe. The fumes are toxic. Zhao Mailan stared at me blankly, unmoving. I reached out and pulled her up from the ground. guiding her a bit further away from the car, and sat her down on a stone bench at the edge of the lawn. "Sit here," I said. "It's cooler." She sat down mechanically, her eyes still locked on the car. I walked back under the umbrella and checked the time. 4:15 p.m. Finally, the sound of sirens came from the distance, getting closer and closer, getting clearer and clearer. Zhao Mailan sprang up, stumbling towards the main iron gate. The police are here." Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying also scrambled up to follow her. The three of them threw themselves at the iron gate, like it was their last lifeline, desperately pounding on the metal. "Help! People are dying in here." The sirens stopped right outside the gate, the sound of car doors opening, footsteps. Then, a knock on the gate. "Open up, police." Old Zhang looked at me. I nodded. The lock clicked open. The iron gates pulled back. 3 officers in uniform walked in, followed by two rescue workers in bright orange vests. The lead officer was a middle-aged guy in his 40s, with a square jaw and a deep frown. He swept his gaze over the scene in the yard. Zhao Mailan slumped over crying. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying looking like absolute messes. Me sitting casually under the umbrella, and that black SUV in the middle of the yard, his eyes locked onto the car. The windows were shut tight, with blurry writing and a bloody handprint left on the glass. The hood gave off a dark red gleam in the setting sun, like a freshly roasted coffin. "Who called the cops?" the officer asked. Zhao Mailan threw herself at him, grabbing his arm. "Officer, save my daughter. My daughter is in that car. She's dying." The officer pushed her away gently and looked at me. "Are you the owner?" I stood up, walked over, and pulled out my ID and vehicle registration. "I am Shu Chi." The officer took my ID, checked it, then looked at the car. "Is there someone inside?" "I don't know," I said. "My wife left halfway through the party today. Said, she was getting my tie. Hasn't been back for over 2 hours. My cousin and her best friend swear she's in the car. But I can't get the door open." The officer frowned. "Can't get it open. It's modded." I pointed at the car. "Bulletproof tier. Has an anti-hijack mode. Once locked from the inside, forcing it open from the outside triggers high voltage." The officer's face changed. He walked over to the car, reached out to touch the door, and instantly pulled his hand back. "It's burning hot. It's been baking for over 3 hours." I said. "Outside temp is 42 degrees. Inside is probably over 50. The officer turned around, glanced at Zhao Mailan collapsed on the ground, then looked at Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying. "Are you sure someone is in there?" he asked. Chu Tianyao nodded, then shook his head. But Meng Ying suddenly shrieked, "Yes, there definitely is. I heard noises. There were noises just a second ago." The officer looked at me. "Mr. Chuck, we need to open this vehicle. Whether someone is inside or not, we have to confirm." I nodded. "I understand. But how are you going to open it?" The officer looked at the rescue workers behind him. 2 of them stepped forward. One of them was carrying a toolbox. He opened it up. Inside were all kinds of breaching tools. Hydraulic spreaders, cutters, crowbars. "We'll do a forced breach," the rescue worker said. "But with a bulletproof car of this tier, it'll take at least an hour." An hour. I checked the time. 4:20 p.m. Add another hour. That's 5:20 p.m. By then, it's been 4.5 hours since Lin Yuaning and Su Jingwei crawled into the car. 50-degree heat, hypoxia, and severe dehydration. 4.5 hours is enough to die twice over. Then, tear it open, I said. The rescue worker nodded, put on his gloves, and grabbed the hydraulic cutters. Zhao Mailan suddenly rushed over and blocked the car door. "No, you can't cut it. My daughter is in there. The high voltage will electrocute her." The cop pulled her back. "Ma'am, calm down. We're going to cut the power first." "Cut it how?" Zhao Mailan shrieked. "He has the car keys. He said outside tampering triggers the high voltage." The cop looked at me. I pulled out the keys and handed them over. "What do you need me to do?" The cop took the keys and looked at the rescue worker. "See if you can cut the power from the outside first." The worker nodded, took the keys, and walked around to the back of the car. He popped open a small panel under the trunk. That's where the car's emergency kill switch is. He unscrewed it with a tool and reached inside. Crack! A flash of blue electrical sparks. The worker violently yanked his hand back, a wisp of smoke rising from his glove. No good. He shook his head, looking grim. The kill switch wiring has been modded too. Touching it from the outside instantly triggers the high voltage. The cop's frown deepened. He looked at me. Mr. Chu, you modded this car way too much. For safety. I said. I drive long distances a lot. Better safe than sorry. Well, now your safety features are causing a disaster, the cop said. If there's really someone in there, delaying this any longer is a guaranteed death sentence. I stayed silent. Zhao Mailan started crying again. Officer, please, you have to think of something. My daughter, she. The cop took a deep breath and looked at the rescue worker. Any other options? The worker thought for a second. Yahoo! But it's not guaranteed to be safe. Speak. Through the roof. The worker pointed at the top of the SUV. Bulletproof glass is tough, but the roof panel is usually a weak point. We slice open the roof and go straight in for the rescue. Then, cut it. But the cutter generates extreme heat and sparks. The worker said, if the car is already oxygen depleted, the sparks could cause a flash fire. The air froze. Zhao Mailan's crying stopped. Chu Tianyo and Meng Ying stood paralyzed, everyone's eyes locked onto the black car. The sun was setting, the afterglow dyeing the car's paint a dark blood red. After a long while, I spoke up. Cut it. The cop looked at me. Are you sure? Positive, I said. If there's really someone inside, this is the only way, and if there isn't, I paused. If nobody's in there, I'll pay for the ruined roof myself. The cop nodded and waved at the rescue worker. The worker pulled a plasma cutter from the toolbox, hooked up the power, and put on his welding mask. The machine buzzed with electric current, and a blue flame shot out of the nozzle. He walked up to the car, aimed the cutter at the center of the roof, and pulled the trigger. Sizzle! An ear-piercing screech rang out. The superheated flame hit the steel plate, instantly melting a red-hot hole. Sparks flew everywhere. Zhao Mailan covered her eyes, too scared to look. Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying backed away. I stood exactly where I was, watching the hole get bigger and bigger. Fiery molten iron dripped down the roof and onto the asphalt, burning little craters into the ground. The cutting took 3 minutes. In the middle of the roof, they cut open a hole, big enough for an adult to climb through. The worker turned off the cutter and lifted his mask. Heat poured out from the opening, mixed with an indescribable smell, sweat, piss, and a faint stench of blood. The cop put on his gloves, stepped onto the SUV's rear tire, and popped his head in to look. Just one glance and his body visibly stiffened. A few seconds later, he pulled his head back out, looking absolutely sick. Call an ambulance, he yelled to the other cop behind him. Hurry! Then he jumped down from the car, walked over to me, and gave me a highly complicated look. Mr. Chu, he said, there really are people in the car. I nodded. Are they alive? The cop stayed silent for a few seconds. 2 of them, he said. A man and a woman. The woman still has a faint pulse. The man, he didn't finish his sentence. But everyone knew exactly what it meant. Zhao Mailan let out a shriek and passed out cold. Chu Tianyo and Meng Ying slumped on the ground, their faces looking like death. I stood there, looking at the SUV with its roof sliced open. Heat was still billowing out of the hole. The sunset's afterglow shined through the opening, illuminating a corner of the interior. I saw Lin Yuning's face, pale, swollen, her lips cracked and bleeding. Her eyes were half open, pupils dilated, staring at the sky like a dehydrated fish. The chat suddenly refreshed with the final notification. Target Lin Yuning's vitals are at the point of collapse. Target Su Jingwei confirmed dead. Golden Boy has lost all vital signs. Villain Chu Gichuchi gains 1000 luck points. System alert. Revenge mission. Phase 1 complete. I looked up at the sky. The sunset was like fire, burning half the sky red, like a grand, magnificent funeral. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The air still lingered with the burnt smell of the plasma cutter and the stench of death pouring out from the car. Zhao Mailan's fingers were trembling violently. She stared at the SUV with the cut-open roof. The paramedics were leaning into the hole. The stretchers were carried out. Someone was lying on it, covered with a white sheet, wrapped tight from head to toe. A lock of long hair peeked out from the edge of the sheet. Dyed green, styled in big waves. It looked exactly like the hairstyle Lin Yuaning got done last month. Exactly the same. Zhao Mailan swayed on her feet. I reached out to steady her, but she violently slapped my hand away. Her eyes were bloodshot, glaring daggers at my face. Chuchi, you knew all along, didn't you? I didn't say anything. You knew Yuaning was in the car. You knew that bastard was in there too. Her voice got shriller. You locked the doors on purpose. You purposely let them roast alive in there. I looked at her, my expression deadpan. The cop walked over and stepped between me and Zhao Mailan. Ma'am, calm down. We don't have all the facts yet. What facts are missing? Zhao Mailan pointed at the stretcher. My daughter is right there. And that bastard is there too. Chuchi is a fucking murderer. The cop frowned, then turned to look at me. Mr. Chuck, we're going to need you to come in and cooperate with the investigation. I nodded. Of course. The stretchers were carried over to the ambulance. The paramedics lifted a corner of the white sheet to check for vitals. I caught a glimpse of Lin Yuaning's face, paler than before, her lips purple, her eyes shut tight. The rise and fall of her chest was so weak it was almost invisible. On the other stretcher, the white sheet was pulled all the way up, exposing only a single foot. A man's foot, wearing a brown casual leather shoe, with a bit of dried mud on the sole. Su Jingwei's shoe. Zhao Mailan saw it too. She lunged forward to rip off the white sheet, but a nurse stopped her. Family members, please stay calm. The injured need immediate treatment. That's my daughter. Zhao Mailan shrieked. Let me see her. A cop pulled her back. Ma'am, saving lives is the priority right now. Let the medical staff do their job. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Sirens wailed, and the vehicle sped out of the yard. The yard suddenly fell quiet. Only the few of us were left, along with the SUV with the sunroof ripped open. Heat was still billowing out of the hole, mixed with a certain smell. Sour sweat, piss, blood, and a faint, sweet scent of perfume. Dior j'adore. The perfume Lin Yuaning sprayed on before leaving today. Zhao Mailan slowly turned around. The tears on her face had dried, leaving two dark, dirty streaks. Her eye makeup was smudged. Eyeliner melted into a mess, looking like she'd been punched twice. But her eyes had changed. No longer that desperate, crazed look, but a cold, calculating glint. She stared at me for a long time. Then, she spoke, her voice hoarse but clear. Chuchi, the woman in that car is not Yuaning. My eyebrows twitched. Chu Tianniao and Meng Ying's heads snapped up at the same time, staring at her in shock. Even the cop was stunned. Ma'am, what did you say? I said. The woman in that car is not my daughter, Lin Yuaning. Zhao Mailan enunciated every word. My daughter wore a white dress today. The woman on that stretcher just now was wearing a black shirt. She paused and looked at me. Chuchi, fess up. Are you hiding some other woman in your car? The air froze. Chu Tianniao was the first to react. He jumped up and pointed right at my nose. Yeah, it's definitely Chuchi. You fucking cheated and hid your side piece in the car, and when it got too hot and shit went sideways, you tried to pin it on Yuaning. Meng Ying scrambled up too, slapping her thigh and crying. No wonder you kept stopping us from opening the door. You were scared we'd find out you were hiding someone in there. The cop's frown deepened. He looked at me. Mr. Cho, this is. I stood my ground, saying nothing. Zhao Mailan walked right up to me. Her eyes locked onto mine. Chuchi, you need to explain this clearly today. Who is that woman in the car? Why did you hide her in there? Were you trying to kill her? And frame my daughter for it? Her finger was practically poking my eye out. I took a step back, instinctively blocking the front of the SUV. Zhao Mailan caught this tiny movement. Her eyes lit up, and her voice shot up. What are you blocking? Is there more evidence in the car? Did you hide something shady in there? She turned to the cop. Officer, I demand a search of this car. I suspect my son-in-law murdered that woman, and is trying to frame my daughter. The cop looked at me. Mr. Chu, what do you think? I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I slowly stepped aside, clearing the way to the door. Check it, I said. Zhao Mailan immediately rushed over and yanked the handle. Of course, it wouldn't open. The lock was still engaged. Keys, she yelled, turning back to me. I pulled the keys from my pocket and handed them over. Zhao Mailan snatched them, hit unlock, and violently pulled open the back door. A wave of heat blasted out. The inside of the car was a total disaster. The leather seats were covered in dark sweat stains, and several patches of dark red blood. 2 empty water bottles were tossed on the floor, crushed and warped. In the middle of the back seat lay a black shirt, a very small women's size. Zhao Mailan grabbed the shirt and shook it out. Definitely a women's style, but the most important detail. This wasn't Lin Yuaning's clothes. Lin Yuaning never wore black. She thought black made her look old. Zhao Mailan held up the shirt, like a flag of victory. Officer, look, here's the evidence. Chu Chuchi was hiding another woman in his car. The cop took the shirt, inspected it, then looked into the car. His eyes locked onto the floor in the back. Lying there was a single, high-heel, silver stiletto. The heel was snapped in half. Size 36. Lin Yuaning wears a 37. The cop bent down to pick it up, his frown deepening. Meng Ying suddenly shrieked. I remember now. At the party today, that little secretary from Chu Chuchi's company showed up, and she was wearing a black shirt. Yeah, that's her. She's always had a thing for Chu Chuchi. Chu Tianyao chimed in. Exactly. I saw it, too. That little secretary was flirting with him nonstop. Zhao Mailan's face twisted into an almost savage grin. She turned to me, her voice soft, but dripping with venom. Chu Chuchi, oh, Chu Chuchi, I never would have guessed. You look so honest. But behind our backs, you're playing dirty, bringing your secretary to a family gathering, and hooking up in the car. And when it got too hot, and things went wrong, you try to pin it on Yuning. She took a step closer, lowering her voice. Too bad. You miscalculated. Yuning wasn't wearing black today. I looked at her, saying nothing. The chat refreshed in my ear. Mother-in-law's counterattack is insane. She's trying to dump all the dirty water on the villain. The woman in the car is definitely Lin Yuaning. Su Jingwei probably brought the black shirt, and made her change into it. But now dead men tell no tales. And the clothes and shoe sizes don't match. Seeing me stay quiet, Zhao Mailan thought I was feeling guilty. She turned back to the cop. Officer, the situation is perfectly clear now. My son-in-law cheated and hooked up with his secretary in the car. The car malfunctioned, and they got trapped. To get away with it, he's trying to frame my daughter. My daughter is missing right now. He probably hid her somewhere. Or worse, she might already be dead. She spoke with tears streaming down, her acting flawless. The cop looked at me. Mr. Cho, do you have anything to say? I was silent for a long time. Then, I slowly raised my head and looked at her. I said, are you absolutely sure the woman in the car is not Yuning? Of course not. Zhao Mailan stated firmly. You think I don't recognize my own daughter? Then where is Yuning right now? Zhao Mailan choked. A few seconds later, she said, you definitely hid her. Where did you lock her up? Are you waiting for this to blow over? Mother-in-law, I cut her off. Today is a family gathering. All our relatives are here. From this morning until now, I haven't left this yard once. How could I possibly hide Yuning? Zhao Mailan opened her mouth, but no words came out. I kept going. Also, if the woman in the car is my secretary, why would I lock the doors? Why would I let the car bake in the sun for 3 hours? Why would I want to kill her? Because you want to destroy the evidence. Zhao Mailan shrieked. You wanted to kill her and make it look like an accident. Then why would I call the cops? I asked. Why would I call rescue? Wouldn't it be easier to just drag her out and bury her? Zhao Mailan's face turned beet red. She couldn't answer. The cop looked at me, a new level of scrutiny in his eyes. I walked up to the car and pointed inside. Officer, look, there are traces of 2 people in here, but only 1 women's shirt and 1 high heel. Where are the other person's clothes? The cop paused. I kept going. Also, those 2 water bottles in there, both have been crushed. If my secretary and I were hooking up, why would we crush the bottles like that? Why throw the shirt on the floor? Why is the heel broken? My rapid-fire questions made Zhao Mailan's face turn even whiter. I turned to her. Mother-in-law, I have a theory. What? The woman in the car is definitely Yuning, I said slowly, but her clothes were swapped. Zhao Milan's pupils shrank drastically. Why swap the clothes? I asked and answered myself. Because the original clothes had evidence on them. Maybe sweat. Maybe something else. They swapped the clothes to cover it up. As for the high heel, I leaned in and picked up the broken shoe from the floor. The heel is snapped because someone used it to smash something, like the window glass. I handed the shoe to the cop. You can check the heel. There should be glass shards on it. The cop took the shoe and closely examined the broken edge. Then he looked up, giving Zhao Milan a loaded look. Zhao Milan started shaking. I kept going, and the most important thing, who is the guy in the car? The yard fell dead silent. No one said a word. I looked at Zhao Milan, enunciating every word. Mother-in-law, do you know Su Jingwei? The last drop of color vanished from her face. Her lips trembled like she wanted to speak, but no sound came out. I turned to the cop. Officer, I suggest you check the guest list for today's party. There should be a guy named Su Jingwei on IT. He's Yuning's college classmate, but right now, he's missing. The cop's expression turned serious. He pulled out his walkie-talkie and said a few words. A few minutes later, another cop walked out of the house, holding a list. Checked it. He said, Su Jingwei is indeed on the list, but he's nowhere to be found. Searched inside and out. Nothing. Everyone's eyes slowly turned to the SUV, and the stretcher covered with the white sheet. Zhao Milan slumped to the ground. She finally realized she couldn't keep up the key. I squatted down and looked her straight in the eye. Mother-in-law, I said softly, do you still want to claim the woman in the car isn't Yuning? Zhao Milan said nothing. She just glared at me, the hatred in her eyes practically overflowing. I stood up and turned to the cop. Officer, I demand a DNA test. Whether that woman in the car is my wife or not, one test will prove it. The cop nodded. That's standard procedure. Zhao Milan suddenly shrieked. No! Everyone looked at her. She scrambled up and grabbed the cop's arm. You can't test her. Yuning isn't dead yet. She's just in a coma. You can't just take her DNA. I looked at her. Mother-in-law, didn't you just say the woman in the car wasn't Yuning? Zhao Milan chokes. Her face flushed red, then white. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't squeeze out a single word. Looking at her, I suddenly chuckled. Mother-in-law, I said, you're in a bit of a bind, aren't you? On one hand, you want to protect Yuning's reputation, so you swear the woman in the car isn't her. On the other hand, you're terrified it actually is her, and if she doesn't get treated, she'll die. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. But have you thought about this? If the woman in the car is Yuning, and Su Jingwei is dead, then this is a case of cheating leading to accidental death. Yuning is a victim. I am a victim. But if the woman in the car isn't Yuning, I paused. Then I'm a cheating murderer, framing my wife. I looked at her, my smile fading. Which one do you choose? Zhao Milan's lips trembled. She stared at me, her eyes full of hate, malice, and a trace of pure terror. She finally realized that she never had a choice to begin with it. The director of this entire play was me. She was just an actor forced onto the stage. The cop looked between us and spoke up. Whatever you have to say, save it for the station. Right now, the priority is saving lives and identifying the deceased. He turned to me. Mr. Chow, we'll need you to come with us. I nodded. Sure. The interrogation room at the station had a tiny table and 3 chairs. The wall had a slogan: leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant, mixed with cheap tea leaves. I sat on one side of the table, facing 2 cops. One was older, with a square face, Officer Lai. The other was younger, wearing glasses, Officer Wang. Officer Li opened his notebook. Chu Shuqi, tell us what happened. Today, I laid out the whole story from start to finish. From the family gathering, to Lin Yuning leaving, to me finding the snapped plates, to Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying blocking me from opening the car. to me, calling roadside assist, waiting in the sun for over 3 hours. And finally, the cops and rescue breaching the roof, and finding 2 people. Everything I said was a fact. I just left out a few details, like how I could hear the system chat, or how I modded the car beforehand. Officer Lee listened, tapping his fingers on the table. Are you sure the woman in the car is your wife, Lin Yuening? Not 100. I said, but highly likely. Why aren't you sure? Because the clothes don't match. I said. Yuening was wearing a white dress when she left today, but the woman in the car was wearing a black shirt. However, I paused. I suspect the clothes were swapped. Officer Lee raised an eyebrow. Reason? First, there was only one women's shirt in the car, and one high heel. If it really was my secretary, where are her other clothes? Her bag, I said. Second, the broken heel. It looked like it was used to smash something. Third, tie. There were traces of 2 people in the car, but only one women's coat, which doesn't make sense. Officer Wang, taking notes next to him, looked up at me. You're saying your wife might have changed clothes in the car, or someone changed them for her? Yes, I said. Officer Lee was silent for a few seconds. That's Su Jingwei, do you know him? I do, I said. Yuening's college classmate. They're close. He came to the party today, but then he disappeared. What's his relationship with your wife? Just friends. At least, that's what Yuening told me. Officer Lee stared at my face, trying to find a crack in my story, but my expression was calm, my gaze completely open. He couldn't find a thing. I had to keep pushing. When did you notice the license plates were snapped? Around 1:30 p.m., I said. I went out looking for Yuening, and found the car parked in the corner of the yard, with both the front and back plates bent. Why didn't you just call the police? I wanted to check it out myself first, I said. Plus, Chu Tianio and Meng Ying kept blocking me. They said Yuening was getting my tie, and told me not to make a big deal out of it. Officer Lee tapped his fingers on the table again. Why would Chu Tianio and Meng Ying block you? I don't know. I said maybe they knew something, but didn't want me to find out. A knock on the interrogation room door. A female officer poked her head in. Officer Lee Zhao Mailan is throwing a fit. Officer Lee frowned. What now? She's demanding to see Chu Shuqi. Says she has something to say. Officer Lee glanced at me and stood up. Wait here. He and Officer Wang left the room. I was left alone in the interrogation room. I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. The chat refreshed in my ear. Mother-in-law is ready to lay her cards on the table. She definitely wants to settle this privately. But Su Jingwei is dead. There's no settling this. Let's see how the cops handle it. I opened my eyes and looked at the clock on the wall. 6:20 p.m. It had been 5 hours since Lin Yuening and Su Jingwei crawled into the car. It had been 2 hours since Su Jingwei's death was confirmed. Lin Yuening should still be in the ER right now, but whether they can save her or not is hard to say. 50-degree heat. Hypoxia for over 4 hours. Even if she survives, her brain will be permanently damaged. She might become a vegetable, might lose her memory, might end up paralyzed. No matter what the outcome is, it's a win for me. The door opened and Officer Lee walked back in. He didn't look too happy. Behind him was Zhao Mailan. Zhao Mailan's eyes were still red, but her makeup had been fixed. At least she didn't look as much of a mess. She changed her clothes too. Someone probably brought them from home. A dark blue suit, very calm and dignified. She sat down across from me, hands folded on the table, striking a negotiating pose. Shuqi, she started, her voice calm. We need to talk. I looked at her, didn't say a word. Officer Lee stood by the door. You have 10 minutes. The door closed. Only me and Zhao Mailan were left in the room. She stared at me for a long time, then spoke up. What happened today was a misunderstanding. I raised an eyebrow. The woman in the car is indeed Yuening. Zhao Mailan said, "See that you." But Su Jingwei, he went in to save her. I laughed. Mother-in-law. That story is a bit of a stretch. It's the truth. Zhao Mailan's grip tightened. Yuening wasn't feeling well today. She went to the car to get some meds, but the doors auto-locked, and she couldn't get out. Su Jingwei saw and tried to pry the door open to save her, but ended up getting trapped inside too. She spoke fast and urgently, like she had rehearsed this. Then why the clothes swap? I asked. Because Yuening was sweating so much her dress was soaked. Su Jingwei gave her his own shirt to wear, so she wouldn't catch a cold. Why was the shoe heel broken? Yuening tried to smash the window to call for help, but wasn't strong enough. Why were the license plates bent? That was an accident. Probably some naughty kids playing around. My rapid-fire questions. Zhao Mailan answered them flawlessly. It was obvious that on her way here, she had already cooked up a complete cover story. I looked at her, and suddenly found it hilarious. Mother-in-law, I said, do you really think the cops will buy this story? They have to buy it. Zhao Mailan's voice spiked. Because it's the truth. Then why did you say earlier that the woman in the car wasn't Yuening? Zhao Mailan choked. Her face flushed red, then white. Finally, she gritted her teeth. That was because I was afraid you'd misunderstand Yuening. I was afraid you'd think she was cheating, so you'd rather frame me for cheating and murder. It was a desperate measure. Zhao Mailan said, Shuchi, you have to understand a mother's heart. I just wanted to protect Yuening. I nodded. I understand, I said. But the cops might not. Zhao Mailan's face dropped. She stared at me, a flash of panic in her eyes. Shuchi, you don't really want to send Yuening to jail, do you? I looked at her, not saying a word. She suddenly grabbed my hand, her voice on the verge of crying. Shuchi, Yuening is your wife. You've only been married for 3 months. She just had a moment of weakness. Just forgive her this one time, okay? Her hand was ice cold, her grip tight, her nails digging into my flesh. I didn't pull away, just looked at her calmly. Mother-in-law, I said, Su Jingwei is dead. Zhao Mailan's hand froze. He died in Yuening's car. I continued. No matter what their relationship was, no matter what they did, the outcome is that one person is dead, and another is critically injured. This isn't a family dispute anymore. This is a criminal case. Zhao Mailan's eyes slowly widened. Her lips started to tremble. No, Su Jingwei's death was an accident. It was the heat. The car malfunctioned. It has nothing to do with Yuening. That's for the police to decide, I said. Zhao Mailan suddenly shot up, her chair screeching harshly against the floor. She glared at me, eyes bloodshot. Choo, what feck do you want? Only then did I slowly pull my hand back and straighten my sleeve. Mother-in-law, I said, it's not about what I want. It's about what the law dictates. The law. Zhao Mailan repeated the word, then suddenly laughed. A chilling laugh. The law? Chu Shuchi. You're talking to me about the law. You think your hands are clean. You think I don't know about those books at your company. My eyebrow twitched. What do you mean? I mean if you insist on pushing this to the end, then we'll go down together. Zhao Mailan lowered her voice, every word laced with venom. I have the evidence of your company's tax evasion. I have it all. If you ruin us, you're not walking away clean either. I looked at her, suddenly feeling a little tired. In my past life, she used the exact same trick to blackmail me. Back then, I caved. I agreed not to pursue Lin Yuening's cheating. And then what? Lin Yuening only got worse. She teamed up with Su Jingwei, slowly bleeding my company dry, and eventually pushed me off that roof. In this life, she's pulling the same stunt. Too bad. I'm not buying it this time. I stood up, walked to the door, and pulled it open. Officer Lee was standing right there, his face completely dark. He obviously heard everything. Zhao Mailan realized it too, her face instantly draining of color. Officer. She tried to explain. Officer Lee raised a hand to cut her off. Ms. Zhao, the evidence you just mentioned about Mr. Chu's company evading taxes, please hand it over. Zhao Mailan froze in place. I turned around and looked at her, with a slight smile. Mother-in-law? I said, see? This is what happens when negotiations fail. Zhao Mailan's lips trembled. Her eyes were locked onto me, the hatred practically spilling out. But this time, she didn't dare say another word. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She didn't have any evidence. In my past life, those accounting issues only surfaced later, after Lin Yuening and Su Jingwei set me up. Right now, at this point in time, my company is squeaky clean. She was just bluffing earlier. Too bad the cops heard her. And a bluff just turned into filing a false report. Officer Lee looked at the two of us. You two, please continue to cooperate with the investigation. Ms. Zhao, we need to get what you just said on the record. Zhao Mailan's legs gave out, and she slumped back into her chair. I sat back down, looking at the clock on the wall. The hospital corridor was long. White walls, white floor, white lights. The air smelled of disinfectant, with an indescribably heavy, depressing vibe. I sat on the bench outside the ERI. Officer Lee and Officer Wang sat across from me. Zhao Mailan was at the other end of the hall, leaning against the wall, staring fixedly at the red and surgery light. Above the ER door, it had been 3 hours. Lin Yuaning still hadn't come out. Su Jinghuai's body had been sent to the morgue for an autopsy. Zhao Mailan pulled some strings to find a connection, trying to stop the autopsy. But the cops shut her down. An autopsy is mandatory. Officer Lee said, we have to determine the cause of death. Zhao Mailan started crying then and there, saying Su Jinghuai died in an accident, so there was no need to desecrate his body. But the cops were firm. It's a criminal case. An autopsy is required. Zhao Mailan had no choice. She could only watch as Su Jinghuai was wheeled away. Now, she was pinning all her hopes on Lin Yuaning. As long as Lin Yuaning could wake up, could talk, could spin a story, there was still a chance to turn this around. The ER doors opened. A doctor walked out, taking off his mask, looking completely exhausted. Zhao Mailan immediately rushed over. Doctor, how is my daughter? The doctor gave her a look, then looked at the rest of us, and asked, whose family? I'm her mother. Zhao Mailan grabbed the doctor's arm. How is my daughter doing? Is she awake? The doctor shook his head. The patient's condition is very poor. Zhao Mailan's face instantly went white. Severe heat stroke, multiple organ failure. The doctor said, due to prolonged hypoxia, there is irreversible brain damage. Even if we pull her through, she might what? Zhao Mailan's voice shook. Might end up a vegetable. The doctor didn't sugarcoat it. Or, even if she wakes up, she could have severe long-term effects. Amnesia, paralysis, cognitive regression. Zhao Mailan's body swayed. I stepped up to support her. She slapped my hand away, glaring at the doctor. Impossible. My daughter is only 26. How could she? Baking in extreme heat for over 4 hours. A normal person would have died long ago. The doctor said, it's a miracle she held on this long. Zhao Mailan collapsed onto the floor. The doctor gave us a look, then turned back into the ER. The doors closed again. Dead silence in the hallway. Zhao Mailan sat on the floor, head down, her shoulders heaving, but making no sound. She was crying, a silent, agonizing cries. Officer Lee walked over, squatted down, and offered her a tissue. Ms. Zhao, I'm sorry for your loss. Zhao Mailan didn't take it. She looked up, her eyes bloodshot, glaring at Officer Lee. My daughter isn't dead yet. Yes, she's still alive, Officer Lee said. But, you heard the doctor. Even if they save her, she likely won't be able to live a normal life. Zhao Mailan's lips quivered. She suddenly turned to look at me, the hatred in her eyes so thick you could cut it with a knife. Chu-chi. Her voice was hoarse. Are you happy now? I looked at her, saying nothing. It's all your fault Yuaning ended up like this. She scrambled up from the floor, lunged at me and grabbed my collar. You locked the car doors. You let her roast alive in there for 4 hours. It was you. Officer Lee pulled her away. Ms. Zhao, calm down. How can I calm down? Zhao Mailan shrieked. My daughter is going to be a vegetable. Her whole life is ruined. Her voice echoed down the hall, making people from other wards peek out to see what was going on. A nurse ran over. Family members, please keep it down. Zhao Mailan didn't care. She kept pointing at me and cursing. Chuchuchi, you're an animal. You'll die a horrible death. You're going to hell. I just stood there and let her curse. My face showed zero emotion, and I felt nothing inside. In my past life, she cursed me out way worse. Back then, I was a pathetic simp, forgiving Lin Yuaning time and time again, giving Zhao Mailan money time and time again, only to be repaid with this kind of abuse. In this life, I've heard enough. Officer Lee pulled Zhao Mailan aside and talked to her. Zhao Mailan finally quieted down, but she kept glaring daggers at me. Officer Wang walked over to me. Mr. Cho, we need to take a DNA sample from you to match against the biological evidence found in the car. I nodded. Sure. Also, regarding your wife's condition. Officer Wang paused. If she doesn't wake up or loses her mental capacity as her husband, you might have to assume guardianship. I looked at him. Meaning what? Meaning you might have to take care of her? Officer Wang said, if she really becomes a vegetable, you are her legal guardian. I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I said, I understand. Officer Wang nodded and went to arrange the DNA swab. I sat back down on the bench. Zhao Mailan sat down too, right across from me, barely a meter between us. She stared at me, her gaze like knives. I ignored her, just looked down at my phone. The screen lit up, showing dozens of missed calls, Chu Tianyos, Meng Ying's, and other relatives. I didn't call back. The chat rolled in my ears. If Lin Yuaning actually becomes a vegetable, doesn't the villain have to take care of her forever? That's letting her off too easy. Chill. The villain definitely has a backup plan. I locked my screen and closed my eyes. Images from my past life flashed in my mind. Lin Yuaning linking arms with Su Jingwei on the roof, smiling at me and saying, Chu Jiuqi, everything you own is mine now. Now you can go die. And then she shoved me. I fell from the 30th floor, the wind screaming in my ears. In that last second, I saw her face, smiling, smug, without a shred of guilt. I opened my eyes. The ER doors were still closed. The red light was still on. Zhao Mailan was still death staring me. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside was the city night, neon lights everywhere, traffic flowing like a stream. The world was so alive. Too bad some people will never see it again. My phone buzzed. I checked it. A text from a random number. Mr. Chu, I'm Su Jingwei's mother. I need to see you. I stared at the screen for a hot minute, then replied with a simple, fine. We met at a cafe near the hospital. At 9 p.m., the place was pretty dead. A woman sat in the corner, about 50, dressed plain, hair going gray. She had a cup of water in front of her, untouched. I walked over and sat across from her. She looked up, eyes puffy and red. She'd clearly been crying a river. You're Mr. Chu, she asked, voice barely a whisper. I nodded. That's me. She stared at me, tears welling up again. My son, is he really gone? I said nothing. She pulled a photo from her bag and pushed it toward me. It was a young guy, in a graduation gown, smiling like the main character, Su Jingwei. Just like that, he was gone. The woman choked up. He didn't even leave me a last word. I watched her, still silent. She wiped her eyes, and her gaze suddenly turned sharp. Mr. Char, I heard my son died in your car, along with your wife. I paused. He did. She stared. What was the tea between them? I stayed silent for a few seconds, then said, I don't know. You don't know. She let out a short laugh. It sounded hollow. Mr. Cho, your wife and my son died together in your car, and you're telling me you don't know the vibes. I looked at her. What do you think the vibes were? She choked. Her lips thinned out. It took her a while to say, my son wouldn't do that. He was a good kid. He must have been played by that woman. Maybe, I said. She looked at me, suddenly grabbing my hand. Mr. Chuck, I'm begging you, tell me the real tea. How did my son really die? Was it actually an accident? Or, she didn't finish. But the implication was loud. I slowly pulled my hand back. The cops will find the truth. The cops. She shook her head. They'll just call it an accident. I don't buy it. My son wasn't that dumb. Locking himself in a boiling car. She paused, lowering her voice. Mr. Chu, I heard that car was custom modded. My eyebrows twitched. Who told you that? I have my ways, she said. I also heard the doors couldn't be opened from the inside. I looked her in the eyes. Her gaze had a desperate, almost crazy obsession for her son. She'd investigate anything, ask anything. She was definitely smarter than Zhao Mailan. At least she was asking the right questions. The whip was modded, I'll admit that. But The doors didn't open, because lockdown mode was triggered. Lockdown mode? She repeated the words, her eyes getting colder. How convenient. Triggers right when they're inside. I gave a small smile. Pretty crazy coincidence, yeah? She stared at my face, looking for any slip-ups. But I stayed stoic. Zero expression. Zero guilt. She finally slumped back into her chair, defeated. Mr. Chu, I know how it looks with my son, but he's dead now. I just want the truth. Me too, I said. Then will you help me? She looked at me. Let's investigate together. Find out what really killed them. I was quiet for a long time. Then I said, Mrs. Su, the cops are on it. If you have any leads, you should talk to them. She looked at me, her eyes turning cold. Mr. Chu, do you not want to investigate? Or are you just scared? I chuckled, stood up, and tossed some cash on the table. Coffee's on me. I turned and walked away. Stepping out of the cafe, the night air hit me. Chilly, I lit a cigarette. On the curb, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Officer Lee. DNA results are back. The woman in the car is Lin Yu winning. No surprise there. I sent a simple K. Officer Lee sent another. Also, initial autopsy results are in. Su Jingwei died from heat stroke and multi-organ failure. But he had multiple injuries. Fractured wrist, fractured ribs, and scratch marks on his neck. There was a serious brawl before he died. I stared at that message for a long time, then replied, small space, extreme heat and no air. People lose their minds. Officer Lee didn't reply. 2 a.m. The hospital lights were dim, only a few wall lamps left on. The disinfectant smell got even thicker, mixed with a faint scent of sweet osmanthus. Probably someone's family, bringing in a late-night snack. I sat on the bench, eyes closed. Zhao Mailan was still at the ER door, standing like a statue. She hadn't moved an inch in 4 hours. Officer Lee and Officer Wang went back, said they'd be back tomorrow. Before leaving, Officer Lee patted my shoulder. Mr. Cho, get some rest tonight. Tomorrow's gonna be a busy one. I didn't say anything. They left. The hall was just me and Zhao Mailan, and a few nurses on night shift. Silence felt like a net, slowly closing in. I opened my eyes and looked at the ER door. The red light was still on. 6 hours already. What kind of surgery takes 6 hours? I stood up and walked to the nurse's station. The night nurse was young, scrawling on her phone. Seeing me, she looked up. Can I help you? Lin Yuning in the ER. How's it going? She checked her computer. Still in surgery. You'll have to ask the doctor for specifics. How much longer, roughly? No idea. She shook her head. Just wait. We'll notify the family when there's news. I went back to the bench. As soon as I sat down, my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I picked up. Hello. Mr. Chu, it's me, Su Jingwei's mother. Mrs. Su, what's up? I found something. Her voice was low, sounding heavy with secrets. I have proof. About your car. I stayed silent. She went on. I found a friend who knows cars, and showed him photos of your ride. He said the mods on that car are pro level. But there's one thing that's super sus. What's that? The central control system. Mrs. Su said a normal anti-hijack mode should lock down from the inside, requiring a passcode to open from the outside. But your car, once locked from the inside, even the internal console buttons went dead. That's not anti-hijack. That's a death trap. I went silent for a few seconds. Then I said, Mrs. Su, what are you getting at? I'm saying someone tampered with that car. Her voice dropped even lower. Someone intentionally cut the internal wiring of the console, so the people inside couldn't open the door. I smiled slightly. Mrs. Su, your son and my wife died in my car. I'm very sorry for your loss. But you can't just throw out wild theories out of grief. I'm not throwing out wild theories. Her voice suddenly spiked. I looked into it. You just sent that car to the mod shop last week. The mod receipt didn't even list an anti-hijack mode. Someone added it secretly later. My eyebrow twitched. She really did her homework. Who added it? I asked. I don't know. Mrs. Su said, but I suspect it was you. I laughed. Mrs. Su, Why would I mod my own car? To trap and kill my own wife? Because you hate her. Mrs. Su's voice was shaking. You hate her for cheating on you. And you wanted revenge. I was quiet for a long time. Then I said, Mrs. Su, do you have receipts? She choked. Obviously, she didn't. If you don't have receipts, don't talk trash. I said, defamation is a crime. I'm not scared, she shrieked. My son is dead. I have nothing to lose. Then go to the cop. I said, tell them everything you found out. With that, I hung up. The phone screen went dark. The hospital hallway went back to dead silence. Zhao Milan still hadn't moved. Like she hadn't even heard my phone call. I leaned back on the bench and closed my eyes. The scene from the note shop that day played in my head. I drove the car in and told the boss, I want full-body bulletproof glass, run-flat tires, and your highest-tier anti-theft system. The boss laughed. Mr. Chu, you planning on transporting gold bars or something? I laughed too, something like that. The mod took 3 days. When I picked it up, the boss handed me the keys and whispered, Mr. Chu, I added that little feature you asked for. I took the keys. Is it reliable? 100? The boss patted his chest. Once locked from the inside, even the central console buttons go dead. Unless unlocked from the outside with a special decoder, the people inside are absolutely not getting out. I nodded, paid the balance, and drove off. Thinking back now, the boss gave me a pretty meaningful look. He probably guessed something, but he didn't ask. Businessmen know when to keep their mouths shut. Don't ask what you shouldn't know. I opened my eyes, looking at the city night outside the window. It was asleep. Only a few streetlights were still on, like the eyes of a night watchman. My phone buzzed again. Officer Lee, this time. Mr. Chu, sorry to bother you so late. His tone was dead serious. We pulled the security footage near your house and found something. What is it? Around 1 p.m. today, your wife, Lin Yuaning, and Su Jingwei did indeed leave your house together, Officer Lee said. But they didn't go straight to the car. They stood under the shade of a tree in the corner of the yard for about 10 minutes. I frowned. What were they doing? Camera angle issue. Couldn't see clearly, Officer Lee said. But you can tell they were standing very close. There was physical contact. I didn't say anything. Officer Lee continued. Also, we spotted a suspicious person. Who? A guy in overalls. He was lurking around your house for a long time, Officer Lee said. Around 1:10 p.m., he approached your car and lingered by it for about 2 minutes. My heart skipped a beat, but my voice stayed calm. What did he do? The footage isn't very clear, but it looked like he was inspecting the car doors. Officer Lee paused. Mr. Chu, do you know this person? No. Have you offended anyone recently? I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I said, Officer Lee, are you implying someone is out to get me? I'm just giving you the facts of the investigation. Officer Lee said, this case is very complicated now. Your wife is critically injured. Su Jingwei is dead. And a suspicious person appeared at the scene. We have to consider all possibilities. I nodded. I understand. Then think hard if anything unusual happened recently. I thought about it. There is one thing. I said, I got an anonymous letter last week. Saying what? Saying I should stay away from Lin Yuaning, or there'd be trouble. I said, I thought it was a prank, so I ignored it. Officer Lee's tone got serious. Do you still have the letter? Threw it away. Where? Office. Paper shredder. Officer Lee was silent for a few seconds. Mr. Chu, a lead this important. Why didn't you mention it earlier? I thought it was just a prank. I said, Yuning and I just got married. We had a great relationship. Who would write something like that? Officer Lee didn't press further. All right, you get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. He hung up. I held my phone. My palms, a little sweaty. I made up the anonymous letter, but the guy in overalls was real. He was the mod shop guy I hired. I had him come check the car doors that day to make sure the console system was fully secured. Of course, he had no idea what my real goal was. I just told him I wanted to test the new car's security. He took the money, did the job, and didn't ask questions. Now that he's been caught on camera, He's become a suspicious person. But that's exactly what I planned. I needed a character like this to divert the cops' attention, to make them investigate someone out to get me, instead of me out to get someone else. The stage is perfectly set now. The actors are all in place. Now it's just a matter of who can keep up the act till the end. The ER doors suddenly burst open. The doctor walked out, looking completely drained. Zhao Mailan sprang up and rushed over. "Doctor, how is my daughter?" The doctor took off his mask, looked at her, then looked at me. "The surgery is over." He spoke. Zhao Mailan grabbed his arm. "Did she make it? Is she awake?" The doctor shook his head. Zhao Mailan's face instantly went ghost white. "The patient is out of immediate danger," the doctor said, "but the brain damage is severe. When will she wake up?" "Hard to say if she ever will." "What do you mean?" Zhao Mailan's voice was shaking. "It means she's currently in a vegetative state." The doctor was blunt. "She might wake up in a few days. Or she might be out for life." Zhao Mailan swayed on her feet. I stepped in to steady her. This time, she didn't shove me away. She just stared blankly at the doctor, tears streaming down silently. "Can I see her?" she asked in a weak voice. "Yes, but keep it quick," the doctor said. "The patient needs rest ASAP." Zhao Mailan nodded and followed the doctor into the ER. I stood at the door, didn't go in. Through the gap, I saw Lin Yuning lying on the bed, covered in tubes. The ventilator hummed, pumping rhythmically. Her face was chalky, lips parched, eyes shut tight, like a broken doll. Zero life in her. Zhao Mailan walked up, took her hand, and whispered something I couldn't catch. But I could see her shoulders shaking. She cried for a long time. Then she turned and walked out of the ER. Tear streaks were still fresh, but her eyes had shifted. From grief to cold-blooded determination, she came straight to me, staring me down. "Chu-chi," she said, "let's talk." The hospital's stairwell was dim, smelling musty. The green emergency exit sign cast a sickly glow over Zhao Mailan's pale face. She leaned against the wall and lit a cigarette. Her hands were trembling. She almost dropped it. "I didn't know you smoked," I said. "I used to. Quit for years." She took a drag, blowing smoke out of her nostrils. The silence broke. I said nothing. She smoked half of it before finally speaking. "Shuchi, you're partially responsible for Yuning." I nodded. "I know. But I also know this isn't all on you." She looked at me with a complex expression. "Yuning, she definitely messed up." I didn't bite. She continued. "Su Jinghuai is dead. If this news about Yuning being a vegetable goes viral, it's bad for everyone. So you're proposing a private settlement." Zhao Mailan spit it out. "Between our families." "How exactly?" I asked. "Give me a payout. I'll sign the waiver." Zhao Mailan said, "We'll say Yuning and Su Jinghuai got trapped in the car by accident. Has nothing to do with you. I'll handle the cop." I chuckled. "Mother-in-law, Su Jinghuai is literally dead. Think his family will just let it slide?" Zhao Mailan's face twitched. "I'll talk to the Su family. They just want cash," she said. "I'll pay them to keep it on the DL." I looked at her, feeling kind of sorry for her. In my past life, she was the exact same. Whenever shit hit the fan, her first move was to buy her way out. Like money fixes everything. "Mother-in-law, how much do you think Su Jinghuai's mom wants C to walk away?" I asked. Zhao Mailan thought it over. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million tops. Enough for them to retire on. So a human life is only worth 3 million. Zhao Mailan choked. She stared at me, her eyes turning numb. "Chu-chi, I'm not asking you. I'm giving you an out. Giving me an out." I laughed. "An out for what?" "An out to walk away clean." Zhao Mailan lowered her voice. "The cops are already suspicious of you. That sus guy on the footage, and those anonymous letters. If they dig deeper, you're toast." I watched her, staying quiet. She thought she was winning. She kept going. "Shuchi, you're still young. Your company is just taking off. You've got a bright future. Don't ruin it over this mess. Give me the money. I'll handle everything. I'll take care of Yuning, settle with the Sus, and shut down the police." You stay the big CEO, and we act like today never happened. She sounded so sincere, even had fake tears in her eyes, like she actually cared about me. I was silent for a while. Then I asked, "Mother-in-law, what's the price tag?" Zhao Mailan's eyes lit up. 5 million, she said, in cash. 5 million to buy my wife's life. I asked, not buying her life. Zhao Mailan snapped. It's compensation for Yuning's hospital bills and a settlement for the Su family. I nodded. Fine. Zhao Mailan breathed a sigh of relief, a smile spreading on her face. Shuqie, don't worry, I'll definitely. But I have one condition. I cut her off. Her smile vanished. What condition? I want to meet Su Jinghuai's mother. I said, I need to hear her agree to settle. Zhao Mailan's face dropped. Why meet her? I can just handle it. No, I shook my head. I have to see her. Why? Because I don't trust you. I was blunt about it. Zhao Mailan's face flushed red. Chuchi, you, mother-in-law. Don't get mad, I said calmly. This involves 3 lives. I have to be careful. If Su Jinghuai's mom really agrees to settle, I'll pay up on the spot. But if she doesn't, I didn't finish. But the point was clear. Zhao Mailan stared at me, her eyes like daggers. But finally, she nodded. I'll bring her to see you tomorrow morning. Location's my call. I turned to leave the stairwell. At the door, Zhao Mailan suddenly called out to me. Chuchi. I looked back. She watched me, her gaze complicated. You've changed a lot. I gave a small smile. People change. I pulled the door open and walked out. The hallway was still dead silent. The ER door was closed. The red light off. Lin Yuaning had been moved to the ICU. I walked to the ICU doors and looked through the window. She was in the furthest bed, still covered in tubes. The ventilator screen glowed, curves pulsing rhythmically like a heart that was still beating. But that person was dead. At least their soul was. I watched for a moment, then turned and left, walking out of the hospital. Dawn was breaking. The eastern sky was glowing pale white. A few stars still hung in the sky, flickering off and on. I lit a cigarette and waited for a ride by the road. My phone buzzed. It was Officer Lai. Mr. Chu, where are you? At the hospital entrance. We'll be right there. There's a new development. 5 minutes later, a police car pulled up in front of me. Officer Li and Officer Wang got out, both looking dead serious. Mr. Chu, we tracked down the guy in the overalls. Officer Li said. I raised an eyebrow. Who is he? A mechanic named Liu San. Officer Li stared at my face. He said you hired him to check your car doors. My heart skipped a beat, but my expression remained calm. Yeah, I hired him. Officer Li's frown deepened. Why did you hire him? The car was just modded. I wanted to double-check the security. I said, is there a problem? Why didn't you go to the mod shop, guys? The shop is on the west side. Too far. I said Liu San's garage is right near my place. It was convenient. Officer Li paused for a few seconds. Mr. Chu, did you know Liu San has a record? I froze. I honestly had no idea. What record? Theft. Officer Wang took over 3 years ago. He did 6 months for stealing car parts. He hasn't held down a real job since he got out. I looked at them. You suspect him? We suspect everyone, Officer Li said. In this case right now, everyone could be lying. I didn't say anything. Officer Li continued. Mr. Chu, we need you to come back to the station with us. We need a detailed statement. I nodded. Sure. Before getting in the car, I glanced back at the ICU window. It glowed with a cold pale light in the dawn, like a block of ice. In the car, Officer Li was driving. Officer Wang was in the passenger seat. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Officer Wang keep looking at me. His eyes held scrutiny, suspicion, and a hint of pity. While stopped at a red light halfway there, Officer Li suddenly spoke up. Mr. Chu, your wife is a vegetable now. Are you sad? I paused for a second. Then I said, I am. But you seem very calm. I smiled. Do I have to cry to show I'm sad? Officer Li looked at me in the rearview mirror and didn't say another word. The car kept going. Right as we were arriving at the station, Officer Wang suddenly said, "Mr. Chu, if you're innocent, we'll definitely clear your name." I met his eyes in the mirror. "Thanks," I said. The car parked. I got out and followed them into the station, back to the same interrogation room. Same table. Those 3 chairs. But the vibe was totally different this time. Officer Lee sat down and opened his notebook. "Mr. Chu, we're going to start from the beginning," he said. "Please, tell us the truth." I nodded. "I've been telling the truth." "Good." Officer Lee stared at me. Question 1. Did you really not know about the relationship between your wife and Su Jingwei? I didn't. Question 2. Why did you mod that car? For safety. Question 3. Why did you hire Liu San to check the doors? To confirm its security. Officer Lee tapped his fingers on the table. "Mr. Chu, don't you think all of this is a little too coincidental?" I looked at him. "What's coincidental? You just finished modding your car, and your wife and Su Jingwei end up dying in it," Officer Lee said, "and the car mod specifically makes it impossible to open the door from the inside. And you, right before this happened, just happened to hire an ex-con mechanic to check the doors." He paused, enunciating every word. "All of this looks exactly like a meticulously planned murder." I went silent. Then I laughed. "Officer Lee, if I wanted to murder my wife, would I do it at a family gathering, in my own yard, right under the noses of all my relatives?" Officer Lee didn't say anything. I continued. "Plus, if I really planned this, why would I call the cop? Why would I call rescue? I'd just let them die in there and pretend to discover them the next day. Wouldn't that be cleaner?" Officer Lee looked at me, his eyes still sharp. "Maybe you wanted everyone to see that you're innocent." I nodded. "Maybe," I said. "But where's the evidence?" Officer Lee choked. Obviously, he didn't have any evidence. All the suspicious points were just theories. No hard proof. A knock on the interrogation room door. A female officer poked her head in. "Officer Lee, Su Jingwei's mother is here." Officer Lee glanced at me, stood up. "Send her in." The door opened, and Mrs. Su walked in. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale. She saw me, paused for a second, then walked right up to me, staring me down. "Mr. Chu, we meet again." I nodded. "Mrs. Su." Officer Lee offered her a seat. "Mrs. Su, what did you want to say?" Mrs. Su took a deep breath, pulled an envelope from her bag, and placed it on the table. "These are the chat logs from my son's phone," she said. "I had them printed out." Officer Lee took the envelope and opened it. I saw them too. It was WeChat messages between Su Jingwei and Lin Yuening, going way back, starting from half a year ago. The content was incredibly explicit. Photos of their dates, hotel locations, and them plotting on how to drain my bank accounts. The dialogue: "Su Jingwei, ba. Once you get his company shares, we'll run away together. Lin Yuening, soon. He's been trusting me a lot lately. Su Jingwei, that idiot probably still thinks you love him, right? Lin Yuening, heh, he's the easiest to play." Page after page of conversations, just like this. After Officer Lee finished reading, his face was stone cold. He looked at me. "Mr. Cha, have you seen these?" I shook my head. "No." "Well, you've seen them now. Anything to say?" I was quiet for a long time. Then I said, "I want a divorce." Both Officer Lee and Officer Wang were stunned. Mrs. Su was stunned, too. She looked at me, shock in her eyes, confusion, and a trace of guilt. "Mr. Chu, I'm so sorry." She suddenly started crying. "My son, he didn't mean it. He was just manipulated by that woman." I didn't say anything. Officer Lee packed up the chat logs and told Mrs. Su, "Thank you for providing this. This will be very helpful for our investigation." Mrs. Su wiped her tears and nodded. Officer Lee turned back to me. "Mr. Chung, there's a new development in the case. Your wife and Su Jingwei were definitely having an affair, and it was premeditated. So please cooperate." I looked at him, waiting for him to finish. Officer Lee continued. "But this doesn't mean you're in the clear." I nodded. "I understand. So we still need to investigate." Officer Lee stood up. "That's all for today. You can head back. Keep your phone on. We might need to reach you." I got up and walked out. When I reached the door, Mrs. suddenly called out, "Mr. Chuck." I looked back. She was staring at me, tears welling up again. "My son is dead. That's his karma. But your wife is still alive. You better take good care of her." I looked at her, suddenly finding it ironic. Only saying it's his karma after he's dead. What if he didn't die? Would she be helping her son? Scam me out of my money. I didn't answer, just turned and left. Walking out of the station, it was fully morning. The sun was a bit blinding. I squinted and checked my phone. A text from Zhao Mailan, 2 p.m. Peninsula Cafe. "Mrs. Su will be there too." I replied with one word. "Ka. Peninsula Cafe, second floor, window seat, 2:00 p.m. Sunlight streamed through the glass, cutting harsh shadows across the dark wooden table. The air smelled like bitter coffee, mixed with the dusty chill from the AC way. Zhao Mailan sat across from me. She changed clothes today. A black suit, hair pinned up, light makeup, but her eyes were still swollen, bags under them heavy. Concealer couldn't hide the exhaustion. Mrs. Su sat next to her. Mrs. Su looked even worse than yesterday. Eyes swollen like peaches, clutching a canvas bag tight. Knuckles white. Neither of them spoke. The air felt like thick glue. The waiter brought 3 glasses of water, set them down and left. The glasses clinking against the table made a sharp, crisp sound. Zhao Mailan finally broke the silence. Her voice was gravelly, like sandpaper on wood. "Chuchi, did you bring the money?" I lifted a black briefcase from by my feet and put it on the table. It was heavy. It hit the table with a solid thud. Zhao Mailan's eyes lit up. She reached out to open it. I pressed my hand on the lid. "Mother-in-law, look at this first," I said. Zhao Mailan frowned. "Look at what?" I pulled 2 documents from my bag and pushed them towards her. One was a divorce agreement. The other was a settlement waiver. Zhao Mailan picked up the divorce papers and flipped through a few pages. Her face changed. You want a divorce?" "Yeah," I said. "Yuning is a vegetable now. And you're bringing up divorce." Zhao Mailan's voice spiked. Shuchi, are you even human?" I smiled. "Mother-in-law, Yuning cheated first." I said. "You saw the chat logs. She and Su Jingwei plotted to steal my money. Is there any point in keeping this marriage going?" Zhao Mailan choked. She turned to look at Mrs. Su, a plea for help in her eyes. Mrs. Su kept her head down, staring at her canvas bag, saying nothing. Zhao Mailan gritted her teeth and went back to reading the agreement. The more she read, the whiter her face got. You're taking all of Yuning's assets." She glared at me. "Even her pre-marital apartment. That was bought with my money." I said. "The purchase contract has the transfer records." "That was a gift. The gift was based on our marriage." I said. "Now that the marriage is broken, I can revoke the gift." Zhao Mailan's face flushed red. She slammed the agreement on the table. Shuchi, don't push it. Yuning is in this state. And not only are you not taking care of her, you're taking everything from her. Are you trying to drive her to death?" I looked at her and said calmly, "Mother-in-law, Yuning tried to drive me to death first." Zhao Mailan froze. I pulled another folder from my bag and pushed it toward her. "These are my bank statements for the past 6 months." I said. Yuning used various excuses to transfer over 4 million from me. Most of it went straight to Su Jingwei. Zhao Mailan opened the folder. Pages of transfer records, packed tight. Her fingers started to shake. "And this." I pulled out a flash drive. "This is the dashcam backup. Today, at 1:10 p.m., Yuning and Su Jingwei got into the car together. Before they got in, they were making out by the car." Zhao Mailan's hand froze. Mrs. Su's head snapped up, eyes wide. "No, impossible." I pushed the flash drive toward her. "You can watch it yourself." Mrs. Su picked up the flash drive with trembling hands, clutching it tight. She looked at me, tears spilling over again. "Mr. Chuck, my son, Mrs. Su, the affair between your son and my wife is a fact." I cut her off. "Right now, we're talking about the aftermath." I looked at Zhao Mailan. "Mother-in-law, you signed the divorce papers and the settlement waiver. Once signed, this 5 million is yours. As for Yuning's medical bills, I'll take full responsibility." as her legal guardian. But all her assets must be returned. Zhao Mailan stared at me dead on, her eyes full of hate and malice, and a trace of despair. She knew she had no choice. If she didn't sign, I'd take it to court. Then the evidence of Lin Yuaning's affair would be public. Not only would she get zero cash, her reputation would be ruined. Plus, Su Jingwei is dead. The Su family needs hush money. This 5 million is the only way out. Zhao Mailan's hand shook. She picked up the pen, signed the divorce papers, then signed the settlement waiver. The pen, scratching against the paper, made a soft shush sound, like some bug chewing on wood. Once done, she tossed the pen on the table and slumped back into her chair, like all her energy had been drained. I pushed the briefcase toward her. She opened it. Stacks of 100 yuan bills, neatly packed. Red, blinding. She stared at the money for a long time. Then she suddenly laughed. A soft laugh, but chilling. Chu-chi. She looked up, eyes bloodshot. You win. I didn't say anything. She went on. You turn my daughter into a vegetable, kill her lover, take all her money back, and finally make me sign a waiver. So you walk away squeaky clean. Chu-chi, you're something else. I nodded. Thanks for the compliment. Zhao Mailan's smile froze. She stared at me for a long time, then suddenly said, but you won't get a happy ending. I raised an eyebrow. The law might not touch you, but heaven will. She said, you'll get your karma. I laughed. Karma? Mother-in-law, what exactly do you think karma is? Zhao Mailan didn't answer. I kept going. Was Yuaning cheating karma? Was Su Jingwei dying karma? Now, Yuaning is a vegetable. Is that karma too? If all that is karma, then what's my karma? Zhao Mailan opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I stood up, straightened my suit. Mother-in-law, keep the money safe. The hospital will contact you about Yuaning. As for karma, I paused and gave a slight smile. I don't believe in that. With that, I turned and left. Walked down the stairs, out of the cafe. The sun was blinding. I squinted, put on my sunglasses. My phone buzzed. Officer Lion. Mr. Chu, where are you? Just finished meeting with Zhao Mailan and Su Jingwei's mother. I said. Officer Li was silent for a few seconds. They agreed to settle. Yeah, I said. Sign the waiver. Mr. Chu, you know, a private settlement doesn't stop a criminal investigation. Officer Li's voice was stern. If the investigation shows you're guilty, you'll still be prosecuted. I nodded. I know. Then come down to the station now. Officer Li said, the official autopsy report is out. Okay. Hung up. I stood on the curb waiting for a cab. 2:30 p.m. Not many people on the street. Cars passed occasionally, bringing a gust of hot wind. I lit a cigarette, smoking slowly. The last scene from my past life flashed in my head. When Lin Yuaning pushed me off the roof, that smug smile on her face. She said, Chu-chi, everything you own is mine now. And now, she's in the ICU. A vegetable. Her lover is dead. All her money was taken back by me. Whose is whose now? Cigarette finished. I tossed the butt in the trash. The Uber arrived. Got in, gave the address. The car started moving. The scenery outside blurred backwards. Like time, never returning. Arrived at the station. Officer Li and Officer Wang were waiting in the conference room. A thick report sat on the table. Mr. Chu, have a seat. Officer Li pointed to a chair. I sat. Officer Li pushed the report toward me. The official autopsy results. He said, Su Jingwei's cause of death was heat stroke combined with multiple organ failure. But he had multiple injuries. Right wrist was shattered. 3 broken ribs on the left side. Scratch marks on his neck, deep enough to reach the dermis. There was a violent struggle before death. I nodded. Officer Li continued. Based on the injury patterns, the wrist fracture was caused by blunt force trauma, likely the golf club. The rib fractures were from stomping. The neck scratches were from fingernails. He paused, looking at me. Mr. Chu. There were only 2 people in the car. I stayed silent. Officer Li continued, which means, before they died, Su Jingwei and Lin Yuaning were beating each other up. Su Jingwei smashed the window with the golf club, fracturing his wrist. Lin Yuaning clawed Su Jingwei's neck. And finally, Su Jingwei stomped on Lin Yuaning's ribs. The medical examiner found rib fractures on Lin Yuning's chest, X-ray 2. He closed the report. It was mutual destruction. The room was quiet. Officer Wang taking notes beside him. The sound of the pen on paper. Scratch, scratch. I was quiet for a long time. Then I asked, Officer Lee, what are you trying to say? Officer Lee looked at me. His gaze complex. Mr. Chu, I don't doubt your wife cheated, he said, and I don't doubt Su Jingwei's death was an accident, but I am doubting one thing. He paused, enunciating every word. The car's lockdown mode. Did it really trigger by accident? I looked at him, didn't say anything. Officer Lee went on. I consulted automod experts. They said, a normal anti-hijack mode only locks the doors. The central console buttons should still work. But the console in your car was completely dead. There's only one explanation. He leaned forward, staring into my eyes. Someone intentionally cut the internal wiring of the console system. My heart skipped a beat. But my face stayed calm. Officer Lee, do you have proof? Officer Lee was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, not yet. I nodded. Then you can't accuse me like that. Officer Lee sighed. Mr. Chu, I'm not accusing you, he said. I just think all of this is way too coincidental. So coincidental, it feels like someone scripted the whole thing. I laughed. Officer Lee, if I scripted it, would I make myself the prime suspect? Officer Lee didn't answer. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, Mr. Chu, I will keep digging into this case. Dig away, I said, but I need to remind you of one thing. Officer Lee said, if it turns out you're innocent, then your wife and Lin Yuaning's tragedy was an accident. But if you did tamper with the car, he didn't finish. But the threat was clear. I stood up. Officer Lee, I await your findings. With that, I left the conference room and walked out of the station. The sky had darkened. Looked like rain. My phone buzzed again. From the hospital this time. Mr. Chu, is your wife, Lin Yuaning's family there? Her mother is. What's wrong? The patient's condition has changed. The doctor needs you or the family here ASAP. What kind of change? Hard to say over the phone. The doctor sounded hesitant. We'll discuss when you get here. Hung up. I stood by the road, looking at the gloomy sky. Raindrops started falling. 1 drop, 2 drops hitting my face. Cold. I raised my hand and hailed a cab. The hallway outside the ICU at the Central Hospital was quieter than yesterday. The sound of rain was blocked by thick glass, leaving only the faint hum of the AC vents. The disinfectant smell, mixed with a weirdly sweet scent, like some kind of IV fluid. Zhao Mailan stood outside the room, not crying, not throwing a fit, just staring blankly through the glass. Lin Yuaning was still in bed, tubes everywhere. The ventilator pump, the curves on the screen were even weaker than yesterday, like a candle in the wind, ready to blow out any second. The doctor stood next to her, holding the latest reports. The patient's EEG showed abnormal fluctuations. The doctor said, we suspect she might be showing signs of waking up. Zhao Mailan whipped around. Really? Just a possibility. The doctor was cautious. But it could also be terminal lucidity. Zhao Mailan's face went white again. She grabbed the doctor's arm. Doctor, please save her. You have to save her. The doctor nodded. We'll do our best. But you need to be prepared. Even if she wakes up, the brain damage is irreversible. What do you mean? It means she might not remember anything from the past, the doctor said, or her cognitive level could regress to a child's, or even lower. Zhao Mailan's lips trembled. She turned to look at her daughter in the room, and the tears finally fell. Silent, heavy drops. I stood behind her, saying nothing. The doctor glanced at me. Mr. Cho, your wife's condition requires long-term rehab. It won't be cheap, and the outcome isn't guaranteed. I nodded. Money isn't an issue. The doctor sighed, turned and left. The hallway was just the two of us again. Zhao Mailan kept staring into the room. Suddenly, she spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. Shuqi, if Yuaning wakes up, can you be good to her? I didn't answer. She went on. I know she did you dirty. But look at her now. She's gotten her karma. Can't you forgive her? I looked at her and asked calmly, Mother-in-law, if I was the one lying in there today, if I was the one who cheated, would you tell Yuning to forgive me? Jiao Mailan choked. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The answer was obvious. Hell no. She would just tell Lin Yuning to divorce me, take all my money, and kick me to the curb with nothing. Now the roles are flipped, and she wants me to forgive. What a joke. I turned to leave. Zhao Mailan suddenly called out, Shuqi. I looked back. She pulled the divorce agreement from her bag. Can we hold off on making this official? Her voice trembled. Wait until Yuning wakes up. And what if she doesn't? I cut her off. Zhao Mailan froze. I walked back to her, took the papers from her hand. Mother-in-law, the agreement is signed. I said, legally speaking, Lin Yuning and I are no longer married. But you just said. I said I'd cover her medical bills. I said, as her legal guardian. And right now, her guardian is you. Zhao Mailan's face went completely white. She finally realized. When I said I'd take responsibility at the hospital, it wasn't as a husband. It was as a bystander. I'll pay the money, but I'm not taking the burden. Zhao Mailan swayed, having to lean against the wall to stay upright. She looked at me, anger in her eyes, despair, and a sliver of begging. Shuqi, you can't do this. Her voice choked up. Yuning is only 26. Her life has just begun. I nodded. Yeah, he, only 26, and already cheating, plotting to transfer marital assets, and ending up a vegetable. It really is a shame. Zhao Mailan's lips twitched. She stared at me for a long time, then, suddenly, laughed. A soft laugh, but bone-chilling. Shuqi, I really underestimated you. She said, you're more ruthless than I thought. I didn't speak. She went on, but remember this. If Yuning dies, I won't let you off even as a ghost. I looked at her with a slight smile. Mother-in-law, I wasn't scared of you when you were alive. Why would I be scared of you dead? Zhao Mailan's smile froze on her face. She death stared me, the hate in her eyes trying to burn a hole through me. But I didn't care. I turned and walked away, out of the hospital. It was still raining. I opened my umbrella and stood by the road, waiting for a car. My phone buzzed. It was Officer Lyle. Mr. Chu, we have a new development. What development? Liu San confessed. Officer Li's voice was serious. He said, you hired him to check the doors, but he didn't tamper with anything. But he gave us some key info. Officer Li paused. He said the day he checked the doors, he saw a box of stuff in the trunk. What stuff? He didn't see clearly, but he smelled something. Officer Li said. He said it smelled like gasoline. My heart skipped a beat, but my voice stayed calm. It's totally normal to have gasoline in the trunk. People keep emergency fuel in their cars. But Liu San said the gas can was unsealed. The cap was loose. Officer Li went on. He also said there was a ring of black stuff near the can. Looked like wires. See. The air froze. Both ends of the phone went silent. A few seconds later, Officer Li spoke. Mr. Chu, we need to search your car again. I took a deep breath. Fine. Right now. Okay. I hung up. I stood in the rain. Water dripped from the edge of my umbrella in a steady line, like time slipping away unstoppably. The car arrived. I got in and gave the address. The car headed for the police station. The rain outside got heavier, like it wanted to drown the whole city. Got to the station. Officer Li and Officer Wang were waiting for me. Behind them were two guys in plainclothes, carrying toolboxes. Mr. Chu, these are colleagues from forensics. Officer Li introduced them. We need to process your car. I nodded. Where's the car? In the yard. I followed them to the station's backyard. The black SUV was parked there. The hole cut in the roof was covered with a tarp, but rain was still seeping in. The inside was probably soaked. The forensics guys opened their toolboxes, put on gloves and shoe covers, and pulled the car door open. The heat wave was gone. Now, the car felt chilly, mixed with the dampness of the rain, and an indescribable smell. Sweat, piss, blood, and gasoline. The forensics guys shined their flashlights inside. The beams swept across the seats and the carpet. Suddenly, a beam stopped at the trunk area. Captain Lai, one tech called out. Found something. Everyone gathered around. I walked over to. The trunk carpet had been lifted. Underneath was a metal toolbox. The toolbox was open. Inside sat a brown glass bottle. The opening was sealed with a rubber stopper. 2 copper wires stuck out from the stopper. The other ends of the wires connected to a small black plastic box. The box had a red button on it. The tech carefully pulled the glass bottle out and placed it on a plastic sheet. Then he ran a detector over the opening. The detector beeped. "It's gasoline," the tech said. "Highly volatile." He scanned the black plastic box next. "Remote detonator," he said. It was armed, but never triggered. Everyone's eyes turned to me. Officer Lee's face was deadly serious. "Mr. Chu, what is this?" I stared at the device for a long time. Then I said, "I don't know." Officer Lee frowned. "You don't know?" "Yeah," I nodded. "Never seen it before." "But it's in your car." "It's my car, I admit that." "But who put it there?" "I don't know." Officer Wang spoke up next to him. "Mr. Chu, this device is obviously meant to ignite the gasoline. If someone had triggered it, the whole car would have exploded in seconds." He paused, looking at me, and today there were 2 people in the car. I stayed silent. Officer Lee kept pushing. "Mr. Chu, did you leave your car around 1 p.m. today?" "No." "Are you sure?" "Positive." I said, "From noon until the incident, I was in the yard the whole time. Never left." Officer Lee looked at the forensics tech. "Any prints on the device?" The tech shook his head. "It was wiped clean. Squeaky clean." The scene fell into silence again. The rain kept falling, hitting the roof of the car. Pitter-patter, like some kind of countdown. Finally, Officer Lee spoke up. "Mr. Cho, this case just got upgraded." He looked at me, enunciating every word. "From accidental death to attempted murder." The 3rd time in the interrogation room. The vibe this time was heavier than the last 2. Officer Lee sat across from me, his fingers tapping unconsciously on the table. Officer Wang stood to the side, holding his notebook, but not taking any notes. Just watching me. The sound of rain outside had dialed down, turning into a light drizzle. The dampness in the air felt even heavier. "Mr. Chu," Officer Lee finally broke the silence. "That detonator in the trunk. Are you really completely clueless?" "Clueless. Then who do you think planted it?" I stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, "Maybe it was Su Jingwei." Officer Lee raised an eyebrow. "Motive? He wanted to kill me." I said, "Oh, he wanted to kill me and Yuning." Officer Lee didn't say anything, waiting for me to continue. I kept going. "You saw the chat logs. He and Yuning were plotting to drain my bank accounts, but if I die, Yuning, as my spouse, inherits everything. Then they can run off together. They get the money, and they get each other. So he engineered today's whole setup." I said, "He probably asked to meet Yuning in the car, and then planned to trigger the detonator, trying to burn us both to death. But he didn't expect the car doors to lock down, trapping himself inside too." Officer Lee's tapping fingers stopped. He looked me dead in the eyes, seemingly calculating how much of my BS to believe. "Mr. Chu, are you suggesting that Su Jingwei tried to murder you and your wife, but ended up killing himself due to a fuck-up?" "It's a possibility." "Then why wasn't the device triggered?" "Maybe he didn't have time to trigger it before he passed out from heatstroke." I said, "Or maybe the device itself malfunctioned." Officer Lee fell silent. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, looking like he was deep in thought. Officer Wang suddenly chimed in. "Mr. Chu, you and Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying, how's your relationship?" I paused for a sec. "It's whatever, just average." "Yeah," I said, "they're Yuning squad. We're not exactly tight." "Then why did they keep blocking you today?" "I don't know." I said, "Maybe they knew something, but didn't want me to find out." Officer Wang looked down at his notes. Then he looked up at me. "Mr. Cha, we interrogated Chu Tianyao and Meng Ying this afternoon." My heart skipped a beat, but my face stayed completely stoic. "What did they say?" "They said," Officer Wang paused, "that you told them to block you." The air completely froze. I looked into Officer Wang's eyes. His gaze was super calm, but razor sharp, like a scalpel. "I told them to block me." I repeated his words. "What is that supposed to mean?" Their exact words were, Officer Wang flipped open his notebook and read aloud. "Chu Chu Chi told us at lunch today that around 1 p.m., Yuning would be waiting for him in the car. He asked us to run interference and keep the other relatives from bothering them. He closed the notebook. Mr. Cha, did you say that? I was silent for a long time. Then I said, no. Officer Wang raised an eyebrow. Then why would they say that? I don't know. I said, maybe they're colluding on a story. Motive for colluding? To frame me. I said, if something really happened to the people in the car, they can dump the blame on me, claiming I was the one who told them to run interference. Officer Lee cut in. Mr. Chu, do you have any beef with Chu Tianiao or Meng Ying? No direct beef. I said, but they've been helping Yuning funnel my money. There's no way I wouldn't know. So you suspect them? Yes. Officer Lee and Officer Wang exchanged a look. Then, Officer Lee said, Mr. Chu, right now this case has 3 versions. First, your version. Su Jingwei tried to murder you and your wife, but messed up the execution. Chu Tianiao and Meng Ying's version. You told them to run interference. You went to the car yourself. And then an accident happened. Third, he paused, looking at me. Our version. Someone wanted to murder the 2 people in the car and set up the whole trap in advance. I looked at him. Which version do you think it is? Officer Lee shook his head. I don't know. No. He stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the rain outside. Mr. Chuck, you know, I've been a cop for 20 years, seen a lot of cases. He said, some are crystal clear. Some are as complicated as a maze. But this case, he turned around and looked at me. This is the most bizarre one I've ever seen. In the car, we have 2 people, one dead, one a vegetable. The people outside are pointing fingers at each other, all claiming the other is the killer. And there's an untriggered detonator in the car. All the evidence points to one conclusion. He walked back to the table, planted both hands on the surface, and leaned in to look at me. Someone wanted to kill those 2. But who is it? Is it you? Is it Su Jingwei? Or someone else? I didn't dodge his gaze. I just calmly said, Officer Lil, if you suspect me, you can get a search warrant. Search my house. Search my company. Audit my bank accounts. If you find proof that I bought a remote detonator, find proof that I colluded with Su Jingwei, or find proof that I ordered Chu Tianiao and Meng Ying around, I will gladly plead guilty. Officer Lee fell silent. He stared at me for a very long time. Then he stood up straight. Mr. Chu, you're very smart. I said, I'm just telling the truth. The truth. Officer Lee chuckled. His smile was freezing cold. Mr. Chu, do you know something? A lot of the time, a truth that's too perfect sounds exactly like a lie. I didn't respond. Officer Lee continued. Every single word you say is airtight. 0 flaws. Your emotions have also been completely flat. No ups, no downs. Is that normal? He looked me in the eyes. Your wife cheated on you. Her lover is dead. Your wife is a vegetable. Are you not furious? Are you not heartbroken? Are you not having a mental breakdown? I stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, Officer Lee, if I was crying my eyes out right now, would you think I was genuinely heartbroken, or just putting on an Oscar-worthy performance? Officer Lee froze. I kept going. If I started straight up yelling and cursing, would you think I was actually grieving, or just trying to dodge the heat? Emotions are the easiest thing to fake. No cap. I'm not faking it, just don't need to. Officer Lee stared at me for a long beat. Then, he let out a sigh. Chu Chi, you head back for now. This investigation is done for today. I raised an eyebrow. Done? For now? Officer Lee said. We still got the right to keep digging. I nodded. Copy that. Stood up, ready to bounce. Right as I hit the door, Officer Lee called me back. Chu Chi. I turned around. He was watching me. Eyes all complicated. If it turns out you're the killer after all. He paused. I won't go soft on you. I smirked. Thanks. Turned, yanked the door open, and walked out. Rain had stopped. Skies still looked moody. But the clouds were finally breaking up, letting through a sliver of pale light. I stood at the station entrance, sucking in a deep breath. Air smelled fresh after the rain, with that rich, earthy vibe. Phone buzzed. I picked it up. Hello. Chu Chi. Things are halfway handled. Liu San's voice, low and raspy. Everything's taken care of. Handled? How? Clean as promised. Cash received. Received. Liu San paused. Shoo. You got any more jobs like this coming? I chuckled. Yeah, I'll hit you up. Hung up. Lit a cigarette. Took a slow drag, watching the rings float up. They drifted into the damp air. Like some spell just clicked into place. The ignition device in the car? Real as hell. But Su Jingwei didn't plant it. I had Liu San slip it in. That day, I sent him to check the door. And dropped this little surprise in the trunk on the side. Told him. It was just a prank. Once me and the wife got in, I'd remote it to spook her good. Liu San took the money and did the job. No questions. Never guessed. The thing wasn't for scaring anyone. It was to frame somebody. Cops found it now. They gonna suspect Su Jingwei, or me, who knows? But one thing's crystal clear. This case is a total mess now. Everybody's got blood on their hands. Nobody's walking away clean. And that's exactly how I like it. Phone buzzed again. Hospital this time. Chu-chu-chi, your wife woke up. Room was blinding bright. White walls. White sheets. White lights. Air stank of disinfectant. Mixed with that sweet IV drip smell. Lin Yuning was sitting up in bed. Eyes open, but totally blank. Like two black glass marbles. Zero focus. Zero feeling. Zhao Mailan sat right there, gripping his hand. Doctor was talking, but Lin Yuning didn't even flinch. Just staring at the ceiling like a statue. I stayed in the doorway, didn't go in. Doctor pulled me aside and explained low. Patient came to around 3 a.m. today. But the brain damage is brutal. Right now, he's in full cognitive shutdown. What does that mean? Basically, amnesia. Doesn't remember who he is. Doesn't remember family. Doesn't remember Jack from before. Brains regressed to toddler level. Only basic stuff left. Eating. Sleeping. Bathroom runs. I stayed quiet. Doctor kept talking. But this, already a straight-up miracle. Surviving that kind of heat stroke. And actually waking up. We didn't see it coming. Any shot at more recovery. Doctor shook his head. Extremely unlikely. Damage this deep, irreversible. This is probably how he's gonna be forever. Room went dead silent. Then Lin Yuning let out this tiny laugh. Super soft. Super empty. Completely vacant. Like a baby giggling at nothing. Zhao Mailan's tears started pouring again. She yanked her daughter into a hug and sobbed loud. Lin Yuning just got squeezed. But that blank smile never left his face. He didn't know who he was. Didn't know what went down. Didn't know he barely escaped death. Didn't know why he ended up like this. Living like this, it's the best case scenario. But, honestly, better off dead. Doctor patted my shoulder. Turned and walked out. I stood in the doorway staring forever. Then I turned and left too. Out of the room. Down to the stairwell. Lit another cigarette. Took a slow drag. Smoke curled up. Past life memories flashing. Then gone. Cigarette done. Flicked the butt. Turned to leave. Then, a voice behind me. Shu, Suchi. I turned. Mrs. Su stood there. Way thinner than last time. Cheekbones sharp. Eyes sunken. Black hair full of new white streaks. She looked at me. Gaze calm. But something dangerous burning underneath. Mrs. Su, I said. You came. She nodded. Came to handle the paperwork. For my son's affairs. I stayed quiet. She walked over. Stood right beside me. We both stared out the window. Rain was gone. Sunlight cutting through the clouds. All golden and bright. She spoke up. Shu Chuchi. The day after my son died. I dreamed about him. I didn't answer. In the dream he was right in front of me. Covered in blood. Mom, it hurts, he said. Her voice was soft. But shaking. He said the car was burning hot. Couldn't breathe. He said that woman hit him. Grabbed him. Tried to kill him. He said he didn't want to die. Tears ran down her face. But her voice stayed steady. When I woke up, I went to see him one last time. Coroner had stitched everything up. Put makeup on him. Dressed him in a suit. He was lying there. Looked like he was just sleeping. But I could still see the stitches on his wrist. Scars on his neck. And the dents in his chest from broken ribs. She turned and looked straight at me. Eyes full of blood-red hate. Chu-woo, Shu-chi, do you even know what it feels like to watch your own son die that horribly? I didn't answer. She kept going. It's pure despair. Helplessness. Wishing you could just die too. But then I changed my mind. She stepped closer, voice dropping low. Later I thought, my son committed a crime. He deserved what he got, but the one who hurt him doesn't get to walk away either. I looked at her. Who do you think hurt him? She smiled, cold and sharp. What do you think? I don't know, I said. She stared straight into my eyes for a long, long time. Then she said, Chu Shuchi, you're real smart. Planned everything out perfectly, no loose ends. But you forgot one thing. She paused. Spoke slow and clear. Dead people can't talk, but the living sure can. Then she turned and walked away. High heels clicking on the floor, like a ticking countdown. I stood there watching her disappear around the corner. Then I turned, headed downstairs, and walked out of the hospital. Sunlight hit hard, slipped on my shades. Phone buzzed. Officer Lion. Chu Shiuchi, got time to swing by the station. What's up? New development, he said. It's about that ignition device interrogation. This time it's not the interview room. It's the interrogation room. No windows. Just one iron door, deep gray walls, high ceiling, hanging this blinding-ass white light. Air smelled musty, mixed with that sharp disinfectant sting. I sat in the metal chair. Across from me, Officer Lee and Officer Wang. Plus, one more guy, middle-aged dude in uniform. 2 stars on the shoulder. He didn't say a word, just sat there watching. Quiet, eyes on Officer Lil, on the table, a clear evidence bag. Inside, that brown glass bottle, and the remote ignition device next to IT. Light glaring off everything. Bottle had some smudged fingerprints. Chu, Suchi, Officer Lee started. Voice ice cold. We retested this device. I stayed silent. He kept going. Yesterday, the tech guys found some leftover prints on the bottle. But they were wiped, incomplete. Today's different though. He paused. Looking straight at me, we used new tech, and pulled those prints back up. Air got thick. The white light hummed like a warning. Officer Lee slid a report across the table. Fingerprint match results. Based on the clearest print, he said. Then, stop. Spoke one word at a time. It's Lin Yuaning's. I didn't move. Just stared at the paper. Fingerprint, comparison, charts, technical analysis, and the conclusion. Big red text, 97% match. Officer Lee kept talking. In other words, Lin Yuaning planted this device. She tried to kill you. Chuchi. I stayed quiet for a long second, then looked up. So, Officer Lee froze. So, your wife tried to murder you. Doesn't that explain everything? I laughed. Explain what? Officer Lee opened his mouth, but Officer Wang cut in it. It means your wife had motive. It means she lured Su Jingwei into the car today. Not for some affair, but to kill you. But she didn't kill me, I said, because Su Jingwei died. Officer Lee's voice shot up. She probably messed up the trigger, or fought with Su Jingwei. Maybe. I cut him off. That's all speculation. Officer Lee stared hard. Eyes bloodshot. Chuchi. What are you even trying to say? I leaned back, calm as hell. What I'm saying is, even if Lin Yuning planted the device, even if she wanted me dead, right now she's got amnesia. She remembers nothing, doesn't know what the device is, doesn't know why she put it there, doesn't even know she almost killed someone. I looked at Officer Liss. Can a person with amnesia even be held criminally responsible? Officer Lee's face went white, mouth opened, but nothing came out. The 2-star guy next to him finally spoke up, low and heavy. Siu, you're playing the legal loophole game. I looked at him. Loophole. You're the one who made Lin Yuaning lose her memory on purpose. So she can't testify against you, or take responsibility for her own crime. I smiled. Officer, got any proof? He went quiet. I kept going. Do you have proof that I caused Lin Yuning's amnesia? Proof that I planned the whole thing? Proof that the device was planted by me through Lin Yuaning? Question after question, flying like bullets into silence, because they had zero evidence. Everything pointed at Lin Yuaning. A brain-dead vegetable with no one left to testify. Dead can't talk. Living got nothing. Officer Lee shot up, slammed the table. Shuchi, don't get cocky. I looked at him, calm as ever. Officer Lee, I'm just stating facts. The fact is, Officer Lee growled through his teeth, you won. You played everyone. Your wife's a vegetable. Her lover's dead. And you walked away spotless. I nodded. Thanks for the compliment. Officer Lee was shaking with rage. But he couldn't do shit. Law runs on evidence. No evidence. All the suspicion in the world means nothing. The two-star guy sighed, stood up and said to Officer Lee, Old Lie, let it go. Officer Lee wasn't having it. But there's no but. The guy shook his head. Case closed. He looked at me. Chuchi, you're free to go. I stood up, straightened my suit, turned toward the door, hand on the handle. Officer Lee suddenly called out, Chuchi. I didn't turn. He kept talking. Remember this. The net of justice is wide. Nothing slips through. I smirked. Is that so? Pulled the door open and walked out. Long hallway. Bright lights. Disinfectant smell burning my nose. One step at a time. Footsteps echoing like a final judgment. But the trial was over. And I won. Walked out of the station. Sun blazing. Took off my shades. Squinted. Phone buzzed. Bank text. Your account received a transfer of 0 yuan. Zhao Milan sent the money back. She signed the divorce papers. Signed a settlement. But, in the end, she still returned the cash. Probably her last shred of dignity. I put the phone away. Stood by the curb waiting for a ride. A black sedan pulled up slow. Window rolled down. Mrs. Su in the back seat. She looked at me. Eyes empty. Shuchi. She said. The car started moving. Not toward the hospital. Suburbs. Mrs. Su sat beside me, not saying a word, clutching a black velvet bag with gold embroidery. It was an urn. I saw it, but I didn't ask. The car drove for over an hour, pulled up to a suburban cemetery. Mrs. Su got out. I followed. She walked ahead. I stayed behind. We passed rows of tombstones. Stopped at the very back, in front of an empty plot. No headstone yet, just a fresh hole in the ground. Next to it sat a small urn, black, with words carved in. Su Jingwei, February 1998. 2 words. A row of numbers. That's a whole life. Mrs. Su stood there, stared at the urn for a long time. Then she turned to me. Shuchi, do you know what my son said to me in the very end? I didn't answer. She answered herself. He said, Mom, I was wrong. Tears rolled down her face. But her voice stayed steady. He said he shouldn't have lied to you. Shouldn't have teamed up with Lin Yuning to steal your money. He said he wanted to stop. But it was too late. He said he loved Lin Yuning. But Lin Yuning didn't love him. Lin Yuning only loved your money. He said today's whole thing was Lin Yuning's plan. Lin Yuning invited him into the car. Said they were eloping. Running away together forever. She paused. Looked at me. Do you know why he told me all this? Why? Because he was scared he was going to die. Mrs. Su said he knew exactly what kind of person Lin Yuning was. He knew something was off today. So before he got in the car, he sent me a text. She pulled out her phone, opened it, and handed it to me. On the screen, a text message. Sent at 5 p.m. Message. Mom, if I don't contact you by 4 p.m. today, call the police. I'm in Juchi's car. Lin Yuaning's here too. Black car, parked in the corner of the yard. Below the text, a photo. Trunk open. Inside, that same brown glass bottle. Next to it, a woman's hand, putting the bottle in. On the wrist, a watch. Bulgari. The one I gave Lin Yuaning for her birthday. I handed the phone back. Looked up at Mrs. So. She looked back at me. Eyes full of hate, pain, and something like relief. Shuchi, I don't hate you anymore. She said, I hate myself. For raising my son into this kind of person. He deserved to die. But Lin Yuaning doesn't deserve to live either. She turned to the empty grave. I'll bury my son here. Then I'm going to the police station. Hand them this text. She looked back at me. Don't worry, I won't say anything about you. I'll say my son sent it. He wanted to report Lin Yuaning. Lin Yuaning tried to kill you. My son had a change of heart. Tried to stop it. In the end, both of them died. Everything adds up. She smiled. A bitter, broken smile. You won, but I won't let you win too easy. At least, I'm making sure Lin Yuning carries a murder charge too. Even if she's got amnesia, even if she's a vegetable, she still pays for it. It's what she deserves. I stayed quiet for a long time. Then I said, thanks. She said, no need. This is the last thing I'll ever do for my son. Then she turned, walked to the urn, bent down, and picked it up, gently placed it in the hole. Shovel after shovel of dirt. Buried it, sun blazing hot, shining on the headstone. Golden light everywhere. Felt like some kind of release. I turned and walked away. Got back in the car. Driver started the engine. We drove off. In the rear view, Mrs. Sue got smaller and smaller. Finally just a black dot, then gone. I closed my eyes. Last system message flashed in my head. Revenge mission complete. Fortune transfer. 100. System unbinding. Unbinding successful. I opened my eyes. The world was the same, but some people were gone forever. Some were living worse than dead. And I was still here. That was enough. Car rolled back into the city. Phone rang. My secretary. Chu-chi. Is the afternoon board meeting still on? Oh. I checked the time. 3 p.m. Sun blazing. Yeah, it's on. I'll be there on time. Hung up. Looked out the window. Traffic everywhere. People rushing. World spinning like always. No one is truly irreplaceable. Nothing can actually break you, unless you break yourself first. I didn't, so I won. Car stopped in front of the building. I got out, fixed my suit, looked up, sun blinding, but I didn't put my shades back on. Just walked straight into the light, into a brand new world. The end.